multiple organ failure. Mujema was admitted to Life Care Specialty Hospital's intensive care unit in Eldoret with acute kidney and liver failure on Wednesday night.
With the chief complaint of unstable vitals, bleeding per vagina, and there was multi-organ failure that was involved in that. We tried to first give her some initial management, and then when we saw her condition, she was very critical when she came in. So she was losing a lot of blood and her blood pressures were really low.
There can be one more patient coming in with the same symptoms and those things. So the hospital is well prepared we are ready and our team is fully prepared. So to meet any emergencies like that, so we are ready.
According to the family, Mujema was first admitted on the 2nd of April and was treated at 3 different hospitals before going to Life Care.
And when I talked to the doctors here in the morning, they said they have reported this matter to the government for government interventions. They say that their interventions, especially for these Mukumu cases, because they present somehow rare conditions that need interventions of KEMRI and other health practitioners.
One other student is reportedly being admitted with severe symptoms at the same hospital. This follows reports of a Form 4 student who died Tuesday this week while receiving medical treatment at the Kakamega County Referral Hospital. She was the 3rd student to succumb. According to an autopsy report, the student passed on from multiple organ failure. While berating the Ministry of Education and Teacher Service Commission, Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale warned parents against taking their daughters back to school until outstanding issues are addressed. Now, the first consignment of fuel from the Middle East has landed into the country. 2 ships ferrying 165,000 metric tons of fuel docked at the Kipevu oil terminal in Mombasa and was received by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
That strategy of fuel subsidy is foolish because it's not sustainable, and we want to dismiss with contempt those who are calling us and telling us to reinstate subsidizing consumption. It cannot work. The government will subsidize production because it's sustainable.
The consignment contains 80,000 metric tons of Jet A1 fuel worth 10 billion shillings and 85,000 metric tons of petrol also worth 10 billion shillings, and is expected to ease fuel prices and it could stabilize the strength of the shilling against the dollar.
The government has therefore entered into a memorandum of understanding with prospective governments and signed master framework agreements with respective petroleum trading entities for the supply of petroleum products on a 270 days term on an extended credit period of 180 days. Through this arrangement, the country is set to realize greater macroeconomic benefits. All those Kenyans, business people, investors who have been holding US dollars for speculation purposes, please offload your dollars to the market today and tomorrow. It's very honest advice from a truthful man.
Kenyans are hopeful that in today's fuel review by EPRA, the prices of fuel products will go down. Now, Azimio leader Raila Odinga says they are out to ensure that the bipartisan talks they agree to benefit the common wananchi. Speaking at a coalition meeting with other stakeholders, Raila said they'll not allow the Kenya Kwanza team to intimidate them into talks that will cost Kenyans further suffering.
We will engage in the bipartisan process to which we have sent very able and competent representatives. But the people must not be left out or behind. We are not going into this dialogue for deals in smoke-filled rooms. We are going into this to secure and safeguard fundamental life and death gains for the people and the country.
This is News. I am Dennis Oseto. Good morning.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Sasa baridi ni degree ngapi hapa?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aya, City, do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda. What are they
How
saying?
are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So I said, your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of God.
Let me tell you, there's no traffic yet. Everything is looking okay on the roads. How is it on Thika Road? That's what we'll be looking at. Of course, on Juja Road and Kiambu Road and Jogoo Road and Kangundo Road and North Airport Road. Those are the roads that we'll be watching out for. But right now, nothing totally to report on the roads. Everything is just looking as it should be looking at about 6:11.
87.9 Spice FM. Mombasa.
(12:06). Good morning and how are you doing? Welcome to Friday. It's the 14th day of April 2023. The Situation Room begins now. It's Eric Latif and Siti Muga. Hujambo bwana?
Mimi si jambo. Na wewe je?
Mambo yangu iko salama. Yeah.
Lakini bana mazee leo baridi leo imezidi.
It's cold bwana, especially in here.
But it was even cold outside. But now when you get in here and you're inside the freezer.
Eish. Ni baridi. Lakini ni sawa tu. Tutasurvive. Tutasurvive. It's a weekend. Was it raining? Where were you during the day yesterday? Did it rain?
No, not that I remember. In the evening there was a drizzle, but light drizzle.
Slight one.
Yeah, there was nothing alarming. You know the sort of rain where you understand it has rained when in the morning you wake up and you find that the path, your veranda is wet. You know it rained and it rained heavily, but nothing of that sort. So there was a drizzle. One heard it, but then I think the wind sort of like drove it away.
Just drove it away.
Yes.
Yeah, even I was in Kilimani through the day yesterday and it wasn't raining. And then I get home and I'm told that it's been raining like throughout the afternoon in Westlands. What do you mean? Because there was actually a very heavy downpour at about 8 p.m. Yeah.
But is that not symptomatic of the rain patterns we have in this town? Because on this road where our headquarters is nestled, you can live here and it's raining something unusual. Then you get to Nyeri Stadium and there's no rain.
There's no rain.
And you're wondering, goodness.
Nimetoka Kenya ingine.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, but in my neck of the woods, it did not rain yesterday.
All righty. Welcome to the conversation. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. So, we know about the deal that Kenya has struck with Zambia. This has been announced by the Agriculture CS, Medeka Linturi. 49,000 acres of land in Zambia. And then we're going to grow maize. And maize in Zambia grows in 3 months. And the cost of production in Zambia is so cheap. It's about $3 per ton. Can you imagine? So that maize, when it comes to Kenya, it'll sort us out. That's what the Medeka Linturi has said. Now, there's a party in this country called the Farmers' Party. The Farmers' Party had that, and they're like, apana. No. Apana. Hey. What do you mean? You're going now to strike deals with Zambian farmers and you're leaving Kenyan farmers here? No. So they're moving to court to challenge that decision. The leader of the Farmers' Party, Irungu Nyakera, will be joining us at 7 a.m. to tell us about that. What are the complaints of the farmers? What is it that the farmers are unhappy about? I mean, si mahindi ni mahindi bwana.
Yeah, that maize doesn't know it grew in Zambia or in Kenya or in Brazil. No.
Yeah.
I'm sure the maize doesn't even know it's maize.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't. It just knows that it has been grown.
It has grown and is alive, yes, and it's getting on with its life.
So Irungu Nyakera comes here at that time, at 7 a.m. At 8 o'clock, we'll be having another conversation here with Saitaba Olekanchori, who's a lawyer. He was the chief agent for Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga in the elections, and he has now authored a book. It's Why Baba is Not the Fifth. It's been serialized. We saw some stories in the Nation and Standard yesterday, and it was yesterday and the day before yesterday. So he'll be coming here to talk to us about that book, How Ruto Outsmarted Raila in the Last Election. 8 a.m. At 9 o'clock, it's Friday. We'll have a Health Friday conversation addressing the high maternal mortality rates in Kenya. There are very many women who actually die while giving birth. And, the questions are, what do you mean? What is it that happens? How does it go all wrong? Dr. Kireki Omanwa is the president of the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society, KDGS. He'll be joining us at what time? At 9 a.m. for that discussion. So keep it here for those conversations. At 16 minutes after 6, we are live streaming the show on our usual platforms on YouTube and Facebook. If you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from, and we will do our usual shout-outs after we take a look at the weather forecasts. Okay. It's cloudy and conditions in Nairobi that we're going to be seeing. Partly cloudy, current temperatures at 16. Partly cloudy in Mombasa at 26. Malindi, partly cloudy at 26. Same thing, partly cloudy in Kisumu at 20. Cloudy day in Nyeri at 15. Nakuru, cloudy at 14. Kakamega, cloudy at 15. And Eldoret, cloudy at 17. Kampala, rain at 20. Johannesburg, cloudy at 15. Dar es Salaam, clear skies at 25. Kinshasa, clear at 23. Cloudy in Lagos at 27. London, mostly cloudy at 6. New York, there's an air quality alert. It's currently 22 degrees. And in Paris, mostly cloudy day at 5. All right, it's 20 minutes after 6. Good morning, everybody. So, who is online? Very many people are awake this morning. Let's start from the top, shall we? Zakari Ondio, good morning. Spice, tuned in from a cold Kakamega. Collins Kimtai Kipsat, have a great weekend, Eric and Mwalimu CT. Collins Kimtai, always a pleasure. Say every single day. He says he's missing Ndu, wherever she is. Say hi to her, all right? Ed Gitonga, good morning. Says he tuned in from the North Pole of Kenya. That's Nyeri. Why? Means it's that cold.
It must be cold.
Atieno Jermaine Jackson, good morning. Situation room 042 locked in as always, but he's traveling to Kendu Bay, to Kendu, to lay an old friend to rest. Rest easy, Simon Ongati. Yeah, rest well, Simon Ongati, and condolences to you, Atieno, and everybody else. Dan Kuto Jumbo tuned in from Eldoret. Abdul Malik Abdulaziz tuned in from Kendube Old Town. George Machuki already joining in from Kasarani. Musa Orina joining in from Dadaab. Lucas Omwenga, mark me present. We've marked you present. DJ Tomrez locked in from Vihiga County. Joseph Mushiri, good morning, Situation Room. Morning to you as well. Daktari Henry Ochoki in Itibo City, Kisii County. Itibo City, Kisii County. Tuned in. Mwalimu Dominic Cheruyot, Kaptarakwa, Elgeyo Marakwet County. Good morning, he's on board. Bomet Merigi Ward, tuko locked. That's Kiprono Kennedy. Karibu sana. Livingston Okala, in Butere. Magombo, Nyamira County. Magombo, Nyamira County. Mwalimu Kefason Bosire, Akondani. General Isa Mathenge, following live from Oman, Muscat. Karibu sana. From Mombasa, Alhaji Fashions, Josephat Mwenga is also locked in. Kariz Bubake Chris is in Gong, race course. Morio Buru, are you working but not satisfied with your salary? You go away. Those are the ones that spam us here with stories. Bernard Kimichobo, welcome my people tuning from Kiambu Town. Okay. Bokiba Rori. Omare Peter Ongeri Getate is in Bokiba Rori. Bokiba Rori, unaona kama iko wapi? Kwa Nyamira ama iko Kisii Ednah? Yeah? Hiyo. Haya. John wa Kiriaine, of course Kiriaine is tuned in. Who else is already in? Tim Philip is already in. Good morning. Webuya tuko inside. That's Juma Elijah. Carlos and Khalid. Good morning from Diani. Good morning Evans and Young. Please know that if you're not on the road to nowhere, then find another road. Daniel Munyangane Ilahalwa Ahudo says, good morning, good people. Eric, please convince CT to outsource several other anonymous proverbs. We need to hear more of foolish woman taking seriously promises from naked men. Yeah, so do like that. Okay, who's on? Hey, even YouTube guys are actually already active. Live in Mombasa, Tudor, Dr. Venvik, Matthias Owalo, straight from the Czech Republic, Jambo Sana, Laban Messiani in Qatar, good morning. Ruben Garuya, locked in from New Jersey, good morning. Robert Williams in Kisumu, Karibu Sana. Todd Odunowere, tuned in from Western Canada, Hapa Edmonton, Canada, Karibu Sana. Moses Kioko, good morning, tuned in from Ngong. Still haven't recovered from the inside shared the other day by Dr. Muinde. We? Hii Kenya hii. We. Hii ni Kenya, my friend. George in the UK, say karibu sana. Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. We're glad that you're all up and early, tuned in. Or where you're still awake, if you're in the other part of the world. City, today's proverb.
Yes, this is our final proverb from the country of Mali. Success sometimes is disguised as a disaster. Put on hold.
Success sometimes is disguised as a disaster. Put on hold.
Yes.
A disaster put on hold. Or success put on hold.
Success put on hold. It appears to be a disaster, but there's an interlude. Thereafter, this disaster will metamorphosize and you will be surprised. As they say, lo and behold, the disaster will miraculously become
success.
Yes.
Success sometimes is disguised as a disaster. Colon.
Put on hold.
Or semicolon.
Colon.
Put on hold. Okay. All right. Let's look at the headlines.
Indeed.
I'm
looking at the Nation.
Uko na Business Daily?
Mimi
nirushie Business
iko
Daily.
na Business Daily.
Mimi
niko biashara kila siku.
Yes. Haya, The Nation.
Biashara kila siku. Niko na Nation. Uko na Nation wewe?
Wewe angalia Nation.
Uko na Nation?
Sina Nation.
Basi wewe chukua Nation basi. Okay. Sasa mimi niko
na jamaa zetu. Sasa uko na gari wewe?
Niko na Star. Na niko na Standard. Okay. Right. I'm going to start with the Standard.
Okay.
Top left hand corner in red. Coming, yani inakuja iko njiani, inakuja. Health cover for hustlers at 17 shillings.
Well,
Government roll out health insurance stemming from hustler fund via 17 shillings daily deduction plans, education policy. Okay? These are things the government is doing.
Okay.
My friend, if this were planned and it were operationalized, it would be a good thing.
Fantastic.
It would be a marvelously wonderful, fantastic thing. Okay? Next to it, now in blue, I'll be told it's some other color, June in blue. Okay? Alarming as dollar surges again.
Si tuliambiwa juzi inashuka.
Yes, ilishuka. It was not a false statement. The dollar did
shook.
It did shook. Now it is unshoken. Dollar buyers pay up to 140 shillings per unit in banking halls in spite of market intervention. Meaning, market has intervened and they've been told you continue intervening, but it's 140 shillings. Yes, but intervention, please continue with it, but it's 140 shillings.
Jesus.
Okay?
Jesus.
Let me just mention something.
Okay.
On page 36 of the Standard, there's a story of a gentleman. This man made headlines for the longest time, called Tiger Woods. Okay? Okay? Woods is his name. It's not the plural for anything. It's just his name. It's not one wood, two woods. No. His name is Woods. Tiger. Okay?
Not a tiger in the woods.
No, he's not a tiger in the woods. That's his name, Tiger Woods. Okay? Painful exit. Yeah, you know this man is a golfer.
From what? From the Masters?
Yes. Away.
Okay.
Unfortunate. Sad. And then bang in the middle of the papers. Bang in the middle, a picture. Pop, in color. Picture of Raila Odinga. And the headline, it's back to the streets. This headline is misleading because it gives the impression that what is being said with a picture of Raila holding his hand, or is it a fist, saying, guys, hey, mark my words, we are back. That's not what he says.
What does he say?
No. He says, we are not doing this because of any weakness on our side. We are only doing this because Kenya is bigger than all of us, and that is why we want to engage. See?
But he says they're going back to the streets.
Only if. There's an if clause to it.
There's no only if.
I'm reading this thing.
Ebu Soma.
Opposition leader, chief rather, Raila Odinga warns that anti-government demos could resume early as next week. Could, not will, could. As Azimio leaders seek to pile pressure on government through protests to run concurrently with bipartisan parliamentary talks.
To run concurrently.
No, my friend, concurrently, ile talks.
Yes.
Okay?
Talks inaendelea hapa.
This concurrency iko tatu sasa.
Sisi tuko kwa
Yes. If we take the street thing, then it'll be three concurrents. There's the concurrent of a town hall and what have you, and then there's the bipartisan talks.
And then the streets.
And then yes, but he said could. He didn't say will.
Well, okay. We'll look at this.
Nimesoma baba. Si mimi nimeandika.
Wamesema Ramadhani kisha tu hivi.
The could
announce date.
The could comes into effect after Ramadan.
Yeah.
Now it's not could or can, it's hakuna. But Ramadan ikiisha tu pap.
Narudi next week.
Firimbi.
Bas. Haya. So you're done with us, eh?
I am done with this particular headline. I've even gone to the back page and talked about Tiger Woods. I'm doing okay.
You're doing well.
I'm doing okay.
As you look at the Star, let me tell you what's on the Nation. Eldoret firm in eye of 10 billion shilling fertilizer probe. Hey. After winning a multi-billion shilling tender to supply subsidized fertilizer to the Kenya National Trading Corporation, the company has raised eyebrows with large and unexplained cash withdrawals and seemingly altered documents supporting big money transactions. See story on page 10. Barely 3 weeks after the contract was signed, Mashambani received, the company is called Mashambani. It received part payment from KNTC. Shortly afterwards, the firm sent over 320 million shillings to an individual identified as Alfred Rono.
Okay.
Yeah, hiyo tutaangalia in detail. Haya, that is a big, one of the big headlines. Second big headline in the Nation. Raila's blunder, Karua running mate intrigues. Opposition leader Raila Odinga reportedly became dismissive of concerns about possible electoral fraud after he was allegedly made comfortable with assurances of a win because the state machinery system would ensure his victory was not snatched. This is according to his chief agent, Saitaba Ole Kanchori, who says in his book, Why Baba is Not the Fifth. He'll be here at 8 o'clock. He'll tell us more about that. Other headline, Machogu releases list of top schools in 2022 KCSE. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu released finer details of the exam results as he had defended his ministry against claims that there was massive cheating, insisting that candidates deserve the results that they got. That's on the back page of The Nation. Also, there's a story on the front page.
Just as before you continue, that same story of the exam is also in the Standard.
It's also in the Standard.
But carry on with your story. Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What's the headline in the Standard on that one?
MPs fail to table evidence on 2022 national exam cheating claims. See? Cheating. Okay, we've got you. Evidence.
Wapi evidence?
Cheating. Fine. We understood it the first time. Evidence.
Where's the evidence?
Did we not say there was cheating? Right.
Higher. There's a headline here that could head somewhere. So apparently there's some leaks from Pentagon papers. And this has now become global news.
What are other Pentagon papers?
There's some
papers which come from the Pentagon.
Yes. Details
Pentagon about ile headquarter something with the other in the US.
Wale wa jamaa wale. Their defense pale.
Ile ni DOD.
Ile DOD. Okay. Sasa in those papers, they've been snooping on the UN Secretary General. It's called Antonio Guterres. Yeah. Now, this man from Portugal was once having a conversation with his deputy. She's called Amina Mohammed. And they were talking about a meeting with African leaders. And it's reported that Amina Mohammed said she finds that president of Kenya, William Ruto, ruthless. And she said to have said she doesn't trust him.
Okay.
Senior UN official has deep mistrust for Ruto, according to Pentagon leaks. Umeona hiyo maneno?
Nimesikia baba. Nimesikia. But how do we know that this article actually quotes Pentagon leaks? How do we know someone is not just saying it's called Pentagon leaks because that's what they want to say?
How do we know what?
Yes, like these leaks are always there. There was one called WikiLeaks.
Yes.
Nothing to do with Wikipedia, just WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks.
Yes, and a lot of things were said. Yeah. Anyway, they have said.
Tell us about the Star, then I'll tell you the Business Daily. Then
I will tell you about the Star. Again, on the top right-hand corner, Siasa. Ruto, this is under Siasa of the Star. Ruto's big dilemma. A populist agenda and a battered economy. That's the headline.
Populist agenda, battered economy.
Yes.
Bas.
Okay. Yeah. Then bang in the middle of the story. Raila's chief agent, how Uhuru men struck it rich. Kanchori describes how some bureaucrats lined their pockets during the campaigns. Okay. Good man.
Naye kuchukua kitu hata kidogo. He'll come here, by the way, we'll ask him.
No,
so
we'll
people are making money all over. Where mtu aina gani wewe?
Ama they made and he didn't get his.
Okay.
Oh, it wasn't enough.
Yeah. Okay. It wasn't enough to go around.
No, it wasn't enough. Raila accuses Ruto of insincerity, announces a return of demos. You know, this accusation is back and forth. Yesterday, we had Adan Kenan here who accused ODM and in a veiled accusation accused the ODM leader of the very same thing. So it looks like this is a political blame game.
Yep.
You are insincere. No, actually, no, it is you who's insincere. Hold it. I'm the one who said first you're insincere. So it means you're the one who's insincere.
Bas.
And it goes on.
Bas.
All right. You will be fined 5 million shillings for leaking exams. That's a proposal. This is something that has been proposed. Okay. You could pay up to 5 million shillings fine if you're found sharing national exams on any social media platform.
Okay.
There's a story on page 6.
So this is all these stories are now from that meeting between Machogu and the MPs, huh?
Yes, so it would appear.
Okay.
And then there's Keroche boss is charged afresh with 14 billion tax case. Being senator is not bulletproofing.
I mean, this thing, I just see it as a journey. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of the end.
My friend.
For it to end, it has to begin.
And also, this, my friend, should be the warning sign for very many people. Okay? The long arm of the law.
Hakuna long arm hapa city.
My friend.
Ngoja uone.
The long arm of
this
the
case,
law.
This case is now in court so that it can end.
I have
This is
understood.
my thing.
I said long arm of the law.
Yeah.
I was saying it's all embracing. That's what I meant. It's long arm
of the law.
It is all embracing.
Kila mtu.
Kila mtu anaweza kukaribishwa na kila mtu anaweza kupewa nafasi
yake.
But your view is that this one, right?
Yeah. The Business Daily. Watchdog starts probe on bank for dollar price fixing. Excuse me. The Competition Authority is investigating several undisclosed banks for allegedly fixing foreign exchange trades, adding a fresh twist to the crisis that has seen lenders run out of dollars on some days. The Antitrust Authority says investigations are ongoing into the possible manipulation and collusion over the dollar exchange rate, exposing bankers to fines and up to 5 years in jail if they are convicted. Sources familiar with this probe reckon that the CAK is pursuing allegations that some dealers at the banks have used electronic chat rooms and instant messaging to coordinate their trading activities when giving quotes to customers who buy dollars. Why? Atiwe, tunauza ngapi leo? Leo tuwagonge 140. Sawa. Haya. The other headline in the Business Daily, Kenya returns to China in a 38 billion shillings Kiambu dual road loan. Kenya is securing a deal of 38.3 billion shillings from China to expand Kiambu Road into a dual carriageway, making it the first major debt that Nairobi will tap in the past 3 years from Beijing, that has since 2020 adopted a more cautious approach to lending in Africa. The 25-kilometer stretch, which cuts through Muthaiga, Kiambu to Dumberi, is expected to cost $286 million. That's 38 billion bob, including 7.4 billion for land acquisition and relocation of services in a stretch dominated by car yards. Tuende tukanunue shamba Kiambu Road City.
Wanauza?
Tuwezi kosa mtu anauza.
Iko discount.
Then tungoje National Land Commission ikuja na hii pesa 7 billion shillings. Tunakula.
Kuna barabara nataka kupita hapo.
Iko barabara wanaweka dual carriageway Kiambu Road.
So why don't you get in touch with that guy of yours? And ask him how much deposit he wants.
Yeah.
And then we want a discount on that deposit.
Lakini sasa ubaya Business Daily wameka hii story hapa. Now the guy will know why we want to buy the land.
So we'll just talk about that other matter that we were talking to him about. And then we'll bring this one later.
Tutachengezeza yeye. Okay. The Nairobian has something. The big one. Mapenzi Tele, Dennis Schweizer leaves cold Swiss biscuits for golden Migori warmth. Akothe's mystery lover.
Mystery? And we can see the person? Or is there another one?
And then there's a story of, during those mandamano, there's an MCA from Kakamega County who was captured on video, who was being escorted by cops. And there's a cop who actually spanked her using the rungu. Now, she is contemplating suing the police.
For?
Si for kumpiga rungu. Let's take a break. Take a look at traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, Kiambu Road is not being expanded yet. We are still just negotiating with China for the loan. So there'll be traffic on Kiambu Road for some time. It's already beginning around Muthaiga and Muthaiga Country Club, but Thika Superhighway has stretched to Utalii. So that's how it looks like on Thika Superhighway. Also, the intersection between Outer Ring Road and Thika Superhighway, there's some traffic there. From Outer Ring Road up to that GSU area, iko shida hapo kidogo. We don't know what's happening, but maybe we'll find out. If you know what's happening, let us know. North Airport Road into the Eastern Bypass. Eastern Bypass, especially at Utawala, it's starting to build up as you come towards town, towards Nairobi. Ngong Road, Limuru Road, Kiambu Road. Okay, well, Kiambu Road we've just talked about. Langata Road, they're all okay. at Makadara on Jogoo Road, it's busy. But then let's see how it'll be like at 7.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Start with the story, City. I might start with this one for the scandal.
Please.
There's a big scandal here, according to The Nation. Going to page 10 of The Nation this morning. It's a big one. Suspicious transactions by one of the companies awarded multi-billion shilling tenders to supply subsidized fertilizer have sparked alarm among financial sector regulators. Mashambani Farm Inputs Eldoret Limited was awarded a 10.2 billion shillings tender to supply fertilizer to the Kenya National Trading Corporation. But regulators have since raised questions over the cash movements and documents presented to support some of the outside transactions, from large and unexplained cash withdrawals after payments from KNTC to seemingly altered documents supporting big money transactions. The firm has caught the eye of agencies tasked with blocking movement of illicit funds. Sources at 2 financial sector regulators have told The Nation that the firm's bank accounts are being monitored. Our source requested to remain anonymous as they are not allowed to speak to the press without express authority. So, what are the details? Okay. Kenya has over the years imported food produce such as wheat and agricultural inputs like fertilizer from the 2 warring countries of Ukraine and Russia. Their conflict has contributed to sharp increase. Now, Mashambani Farm Inputs in January signed a contract with the Kenya National Trading Corporation that will see it supply 112,700 metric tons of various fertilizers. KNTC is already selling some of the products to Kenyan farmers at subsidized prices. The contract, a copy of which The Nation has obtained, says that Mashambani will supply 20,200 tons of NPK, 24,500 tons of microp top dress, and 68,000 tons of CAN. All these 3 fertilizer types must be sourced from Yara, a Norwegian company listed on the Oslo Stock Exchange. Yara had initially bagged a contract to supply KNTC with 112,700 tons of various fertilizers, but it has seemingly subcontracted Mashambani to do the job on its behalf. So, unaona hapa. KNTC tells Yara, where? Bring the fertilizer. Yara tells Mashambani, you Mashambani, take the fertilizer. Okay? Documents that the KNTC filed at the National Assembly in preparation for the financial year reveal that the state corporation had contracted Yara to supply the agricultural inputs. Another firm, ETG, also has a contract with KNTC for the supply of 130,000 tons of fertilizer. But Mashambani confirmed to Nation that it was subcontracted to supply Yara to KNTC. Barely 3 weeks after the contract was signed, Mashambani received part payment from KNTC. Shortly afterwards, the firm sent over 320 million shillings to an individual called Alfred Rono. In the declaration form for the funds transfer, Mashambani claimed the money was for the purchase of packaging bags. This is an anomaly because the fertilizer comes already packaged. Going by the math in the declaration form, Mashambani was spending over 2 billion shillings on packaging bags for the duration of its supply deal, raising questions to why such a huge amount would be used on a redundant item. But fertilizer is coming bagged Yara.
Yep.
Okay?
So now
then you are giving Rono money to buy packaging bags.
For the fertilizer which is already packaged. So does it require double packaging?
Maybe. So when they were asked, Mashambani proprietor George Kibet denied that the firm purchased packaging bags. He also denied that Mashambani is packaging fertilizer, saying no local company has the capacity to package such an amount of fertilizer. He said, there is no single packaging company in Kenya that has the capacity of packaging the amount of bags needed to supply farmers in the country with fertilizer. The best that exists can only do maybe 20,000 packs in a day. For this case, we needed millions. That would have taken us at least 2 years to repackage. When Nation called Mashambani, the wholesale prices quoted were significantly higher than those that KNTC had written. So iko mambo mingi hapa kwa hii kitu.
There's a problem, isn't there?
When Pamela Mutua was contacted for queries on whether the price differences were somehow breached by the government and whether there was any procurement process in selecting Yara and Mashambani, she is yet to respond to the queries by the time of going to press.
Even more interesting, if you look at towards the end of that particular story, there's a little detail of the contracted amount and what they should have supplied in terms of tonnage by now metric tons. What has been supplied vis-a-vis what they were supposed to supply. Now, when you do the maths, given the time when they got the contract, what is reported as having been supplied, you find that it is, should we say, a monumental task to have achieved what is being recorded as being achieved. Because the complaint in that article seems to be some of the documentation, should we say, falls into an area that we refer to as grey, difficult to substantiate. And then there's the issue of huge withdrawals of money. Then there's the issue of prepayments. Then there's the issue of the price. There's even a quotation of an individual there who was called, and he mentioned who supposedly works for that institution, 4,150. Said no, it's 6,150. You know, when they say they won the tender, was this thing an open tender? Because 10 billion is a lot of money. So I'm sure it was advertised in the papers. I'm sure people sent in their bids and a proper procurement process was followed and this person won. Or were they just awarded? I mean, once that particular door is opened, then very many questions arise. But the question I want to ask is, do they have fertilizer? The answer seems to be yes. Did they deliver to KNTC? The answer seems to be yes. Have people received fertilizers? The answer also seems to be yes. So now we're quibbling over certain details. Okay. But what is even more important than everything I've asked, when these fertilizers are used, will we be able to get the output? Because all these stories about fertilizers, subsidized and not subsidized, was so that farmers would get fertilizers, and that in a couple of months' time we would be able to have the sort of maize that can sustain the demands that we have. Is that not so?
That's the story.
So I'm waiting to see.
That's the story. Yeah, the story begins with, are farmers actually getting the fertilizer? Is the fertilizer sufficient? You've had all those issues about, this fertilizer, the quantity that we are getting, the type of fertilizer that we are being given is not the one that we should be getting at this point. It's not.
That debate has not only gone far, it was debated to the point where Calro stepped in. And Calro actually went about conducting a survey and to determine the efficacy of their interesting findings. Very, very interesting findings. Remember, there was a story about the issue of the acidity of the soil and how a certain type of fertilizer adds to the acidity. Caldo said there was no such thing. No such thing. In fact, they said one of the things that you do, if the soil the acid level in the soil reaches a point where it interferes with productivity, unajua kuna hii kitu inaitwa lime. Unaweka kwa soil, okay? But then there is a fertilizer. I don't know fertilizer. I only know the names. I read them, called DAP. That one, apparently, it is very rich in phosphate. Now, because it is rich in phosphate, it means that this very acidity that they're talking about and claiming that this particular fertilizer increases, they're saying actually it does the complete opposite. So the story around this fertilizer and the subsidy and the tendering and the supply, it's mired in so many stories and counter stories that half the time one doesn't really know what one is listening to.
Yeah. I think this is where now it's upon us as media to actually dig deep and get in the facts.
Yes.
So, for example, if you're saying that this fertilizer is more acidic than this other fertilizer, can we get authorities actually being quoted and various authorities? So, an authority in Calro, is Calro saying this unanimously? Are there some people in Calro who think different? Who is it that had advised the government that this would be the better fertilizer? Go to them, ask them, why had you advised this way? What was the thinking behind it? Because
And also, if we know the fertilizer, we know the brand name and we know its composition, it is not difficult to determine what it is made of. And it's also not difficult to look at the website of the manufacturer to find out what is it about this fertilizer that makes it a preferable choice to the other. All those questions can be asked.
And clear this matter once and for all. Hi, tell us the story.
Well. I am going to look at stories that make me feel happy. Okay? Page 8 of the Star. This one, it is about something very interesting. It's called exams. Remember we talked about it? Huh?
Yes.
You could soon pay 5 million shilling fine if found sharing national exams on any social media platform. This is after the Education Ministry made the proposal to deal with exam cheats. The ministry, together with the Kenya National Examination Council, is in the process of reviewing policies that deal with exam malpractices. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu decried what he termed as policies that have been overrun by technology. The team of education stakeholders appeared before the National Assembly Committee on Education and Research. They were responding to questions surrounding allegations of rampant cheating during the 2022 KCSE exam. The Kenya National Examination Council is in the process of reviewing NAC Act to update it to current innovations and to strengthen penalties of cheating and malpractice. We seem to think that when you put some very stern penalties that you will actually reduce the cheating. You won't. Let me just outrightly, you will not.
It will not.
You will not do anything of that sort. What you will do, you'll have raised the price for bargaining for how it is somebody should be let off. That's all you'll have done.
The papers become more expensive.
They'll just become more expensive. But reducing the cheating, forget about it.
So you're actually helping the cartel?
Yeah. What do you mean helping it? You are skyrocketing them. You're making millionaires out of the cartels. If they're millionaires, they're not going to be billionaires.
So that same story is the subject of a story on page 6 of the Standard today, which is about the MP for Education and his PS for Basic Education appearing before Parliament yesterday, the Parliamentary Committee on Education. And it says MPs failed to table evidence on examination rigging claims, raising questions about their probe. You see, this Committee on Education has been going around the country, holding meetings with people, holding town hall meetings about education cheating, and even summoning the officials from the ministry, the officials from the Kenya National Examinations Council, coming there to explain how this cheating is happening. Yesterday, Machogu appeared before them. He said, I have listened to all of you. Not a single member of parliament here has said, in my constituency, there's a school called ABCD, which has been a poor performer. And in this last election, last exam,
yes,
they performed very well. And I suspect that school, there was cheating. None of you is telling me a school in your constituency cheated.
It's somebody else.
You're just talking about schools that have been cheating. So can you please show me the evidence? And he said, without evidence, we have less time to act on rumors. When people are given an opportunity to give evidence, they shy away. It's hard to manage rumors. I can't answer rumors.
And he is absolutely right. I agree with him completely. If indeed there was cheating, then there should be evidence. Otherwise, it was not cheating, it was something else.
Yeah.
Yes. If there was malpractice, there should be evidence that the practice was mild. Now, if there's no evidence, then
what are we dealing with?
Precisely. We're dealing with rumors, innuendos, hearsay, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Education PS Belio Kipsang said the motivation of sending principals to schools is to add value to children, and he's wondering why people are more concerned with failure than positive results. So we've sent principals to schools. They are producing results. Now you're questioning why they are performing better. Surely. It is only in this country where massive failure is a normal curve, but with few passes is an abnormal curve. If the normal curve is a failure, I don't understand why we keep asking for changes of learners when posted. As I sent my child to school, I expect the child to perform better, not to fail. It was like, we're dealing with issues which are important and crucial that define this country. Certification of our academic papers defines where we will go in future. So we cannot just be raising questions here and saying, there's, because children have performed better, they must have cheated, surely.
The point that he's making is a valid one. However, the thing that is also true with regards to our examination, when you look at the pressure that is put on students to perform well, and what it is that performance is supposed to indicate or promise or signify or lead to. Okay? It means it is one particular area that is likely to be exploited by unscrupulous people. Meaning, if the idea is to ensure that the chances of you doing well in life has to do with good grades, then there are people who will not stop at anything. They will ensure that whatever is needed, if it is bribing, whatever, they will do it so long as they guarantee that they get good results.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, do you stop cheating by putting a penalty, or do you change the examination system or the curriculum so that this pressure on high performance is reduced? Do you find another way of ensuring that students can move on to the next level of the education without the pressure that we've had for the longest time? Because our education system mirrors our electoral system, especially for the president. Our education system is a presidential system.
It's a presidential system.
It's a presidential system, yes. And look at the pressure that it puts on our politics, and look at the pressure it puts on the citizens. Now, take that to young learners, and look at the pressure it puts on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really tough one.
No, it is.
And it's very unfair when you talk about, schools in this county cheated, because every child who went to that county now starts feeling ostracized. Two stories. One, the one we talked about, hustlers getting 17 bob daily deduction for health. The government is finalizing a health insurance product that will be stemmed from the Hustler Fund, which will mean a daily deduction of 17 bob. Alongside this product, CS for cooperatives and MSMEs, Simon Chelugui, said there'll also be an education policy. These products, the CS says, are based on the success of the Hustler Fund and what effect it has had in the population. So the Hustler Fund has so far onboarded 19.7 million Kenyans, according to the ministry, and they've borrowed 26 billion shillings, and they've repaid 16 billion shillings. Okay? Every 5% of that goes into savings. Now, they're saying 17 bob will be deducted and remitted to NHIF. So the ministry is engaging with NHIF to see how they can use the Hustler Fund to actually make hustlers contribute towards NHIF for their own medical cover. At least when a hustler is hurt, sick, or in an accident, they can walk to a hospital, be treated, and be discharged. No one will be detained anymore. He said, we are finalizing the product, and hopefully soon we'll be able to launch it. Alongside the same is the education policy for the hustlers. The development of the product, added PS Susan Mangeni, has been informed by the level of risk businesses, particularly in micro enterprises. She said owners of small enterprises are embedded in their businesses when they fall sick. They also they will sell their stock and use the proceeds to offset medical bills. So this one of putting the MSMEs into this kind of particular product helps them. It also comes with education policy.
If this scheme were operationalized, and it was those who operationalize it ensure it works as it should, it is a very good scheme. You can actually see it working. And you can actually see people having that saving that naturally they don't have. 5 shillings may look like it's a small amount of money, 25 shillings. Give it time, and you get used to saving that amount of money. Oh man, it grows.
Yep.
It grows.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yes.
And you see, with all that money that's been borrowed so far, 26 billion shillings, every time a shilling is borrowed, 5% goes into savings.
Precisely.
So we're talking about 26 billion shillings, 5% of 26 billion shillings is
800 million.
It's settled, nestled somewhere in savings. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
You pesa ni mingi?
It's a lot of money.
650 million.
In just 4 months.
Yes, because I was doing the maths. 10% is... Yay! 10% is 2.6. 5% is... 8. Yes. A lot of money, guys.
It's a lot of money.
Yes. It's a lot of money. Yes.
Anyway, keep it here for more. In the next hour, we talk about the Kenya-Zambia farm deal. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The death toll from a mysterious infection at Mukumu Girls High School in Kakamega County has risen to 4 after a teacher who also served as the boarding mistress succumbed while in ICU in Eldoret. Doctors at the Life Care Specialty Hospital say 44-year-old Julian Mujama died from multiple organ failure. Mujama was admitted to Life Care Specialty Hospital's intensive care unit in Eldoret with acute kidney and liver failure on Wednesday night.
With the chief complaint of unstable vitals, bleeding per vagina, and there was multi-organ failure that was involved in that. We tried to first give her some initial management, and then when we saw her condition, she was very critical when she came in. So she was losing a lot of blood and her blood pressures were really low.
There can be one more patient coming in with the same symptoms and those things. So the hospital is well prepared we are ready and our team is fully prepared. So to meet any emergencies like that, so we are ready.
According to the family, Mujema was first admitted on the 2nd of April and was treated at 3 different hospitals before going to Life Care.
And when I talked to the doctors here in the morning, they said they have reported this matter to the government for government interventions. They said that their interventions, especially for these Mukumu cases, because they present somehow rare conditions that need interventions of KEMRI and other health practitioners.
One other student is reportedly being admitted with severe symptoms at the same hospital. This follows reports of a Form 4 student who died Tuesday this week while receiving medical treatment at the Kakamega County Referral Hospital. She was the 3rd student to succumb. According to an autopsy report, the student passed on from multi-organ failure. While berating the Ministry of Education and Teacher Service Commission, Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale has warned parents against taking their daughters back to school until outstanding issues are addressed. Now, the first consignment of fuel from the Middle East has landed into the country. 2 ships ferrying 165,000 metric tons of fuel docked at the Kipevu Oil Terminal in Mombasa and was received by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who says the government will not put
That strategy of fuel subsidy is foolish because it's not sustainable. And we want to dismiss with contempt those who are calling us and telling us to reinstate subsidizing consumption. It cannot work. The government will subsidize production because it's sustainable.
The consignment contains 80,000 metric tons of Jet A1 fuel worth 10 billion shillings and 85,000 metric tons of petrol also worth 10 billion shillings and is expected to ease fuel prices and equally stabilize the strength of the shilling against the dollar.
The government has therefore entered into a memorandum of understanding with prospective governments and signed master framework agreements with respective petroleum trading entities for the supply of petroleum products on a 270 days term on an extended credit period of 180 days. Through this arrangement, the country is set to realize greater macroeconomic benefits. All those Kenyans, business people, investors who have been holding US dollars for speculation purposes, please offload your dollars to the market today and tomorrow. It's very honest advice from a truthful man.
Kenyans are hopeful that in today's fuel review by EPRA, the price of fuel products will go down. Now, Azimio leader Raila Odinga says they are out to ensure that the bipartisan talks they agreed to benefit the common wananchi. Speaking at a coalition meeting with other stakeholders, Raila said they would not allow the Kenya Kwanza team to intimidate them into talks that will cost Kenyans further suffering. Raila further responded to stakeholders at the meeting on the comeback of the peaceful demonstrations.
Sasa tumekubali mazungumzo ziendelee, lakini mimi nakubaliana na pendekezo ambayo imetoka hapa siku ya leo. Ati mazungumzo yaendelee na maandamano sambamba. Dawa ya moto ni kwa hivyo sisi tutaendelea. Tunangoja Ramadhani ishi. Ramadhani kisha namna hii tutatangaza.
And Karachi Chief Executive Officer Tabitha Karanja has been charged afresh in a 14.5 billion shillings tax evasion case after the prosecution amended the charge sheet. She, however, pleaded not guilty and has now been given 45 days to initiate the alternative dispute resolution process, failure to which the matter will proceed to full trial. The taxman sued Karachi Breweries for contempt of court in late 2022. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asada. Good morning.
Okay, it's doing the thing that it normally does. So the traffic on Thika Superhighway stretches all the way to KCA University. On Kiambu Road, it stretches to NYS Lands. And this is beyond Muthaiga Country Club. But then, of course, it clears when you get to what? The tunnel. After that, Muranga Road is good. Wangari Maathai Road is good. Jogoo Road, the usual issues at Makadara. Lunga Road is starting to build up. Also, we are seeing Manyanja Road is doing the thing that it normally does. And Savannah Road is also very busy as you get into Outer Ring Road. Outer Ring Road starts having issues with the intersection or the junction into North Airport Road. And so North Airport Road is quite busy right now. And also the area around City Cabanas, that interchange of City Cabanas, then you do some funny turn into joining the highway. That's just crazy. Always gets traffic in the morning. Kenha need to think about that. Likoni Road is getting busy, and then also as you head towards Church Army, but then after that it's clear. Lusaka Road is getting busy at Nyayo Stadium roundabout, as well as Aerodrome Road into Bujana roundabout. The other roads, Ngong Road, Langata Road, and Wayakiwe are looking good.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room. We are now live on Spice FM, online on YouTube and Facebook, and KTN Home. Time for us to move into another conversation. As we do that, let me alert you that the Chief Justice will launch e-filing for Mombasa, Tononoka, Shanzu and the SGBV courts today, the 14th of April 2023, from 10 a.m. Online court services will include filing a new case, filing additional documents in an existing case, e-payments, e-services, tracking of your case progress, requesting for decrees or warrants, issuance of rulings, judgments or proceedings. All of this is now going online. So there's the e-filing in Mombasa law courts that are taking place today. For more information, just follow judiciary.go.ke or efiling.court.go.ke. That's efiling.court.go.ke. Social transformation through access to justice. That is the strategy being deployed by Chief Justice Martha Koome. So this is what we'll be doing today. Mombasa law courts, leo zote, at the Tononoka, Shanzu, SGBV courts, they all go now digital. You can file everything. So from 10 a.m. this morning, that's what she'll be doing, the Chief Justice. We have a guest joining us in the studio. His name is Irungu Nyakera. He is the party leader of the Farmers Party. He's here because we want to talk about farmers and farmers growing food so that food becomes cheap and the cost of production becomes affordable, and also farmers make money. Irungu, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Asante sana. Happy to be here this morning.
Very good. Is it as cold out there as it is in here?
Actually, it isn't. And also, it's not rainy. I think the rains keep coming and going. Okay. They need to tell us what is the plan.
So it's a better morning today.
A proverb from the country of Mali. Mm-hmm. Success may sometimes be disguised as a disaster, put on hold.
Success may sometimes be disguised as a disaster, put on hold.
Yes, the proverb actually said delayed. I'm the one who decided put on hold.
You disguised, delayed.
They said delayed, and I felt, delayed nini, put on hold.
Irongo, how do you understand this? What's your interpretation of this proverb?
That success is a disaster put on hold. That as you celebrate success, just know that it could also change.
That success could also become disaster.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the exact opposite of how City had translated
Actually,
earlier.
but he is spot on.
Kabisa?
He is spot on. This is the beauty of Proverbs. Yes. If you look at it one way, you'd say it is true. If you inverse it,
you flip it,
it could still be spot on.
Yes.
Okay. So, the other day we saw, first, cost of living, unga and other commodity prices very high. The government has been saying it's deploying interventions, and those interventions include what they're saying is we want to import grain into the country so that then we can, duty-free grain. When we import duty-free grain, then we're able to supply to our millers, add into the market, and that should stabilize the prices. Okay? And already some grain has started arriving in the country. But then the government has also said, we have also realized that actually the global market for maize specifically is quite tight, because many of the countries that are producing maize are saying they did not get a good harvest in the last harvest, so they are not really they're not keen on exporting. There was a story yesterday, Zambia saying, the agriculture minister for Zambia saying, we are not going to export our grain because we don't have sufficient. We have seen others, it's the same. So maize has been an issue. Our agriculture CS goes to Zambia and strikes a deal with the government of Zambia. And the government of Zambia allocates Kenya some 49,000 prime land, touching tarmac, with a river in between, and all those things. And says, lakini hizo musiuze plot, musikatakate 50 by 100. Hii, musilete mambo ati touching tarmac, mwanze kulete ati. No. This one you grow maize. And the maize that you harvest from here, you can then export it. It will be considered as Kenyan maize. Okay? You can export it, take it to your country. The agriculture minister has said he's then now looking to contract farmers, big farmers in Zambia, who will get into that 49,000 acres, grow maize. In 3 months' time, maize is harvested. Maize gets onto the Tazara Railway, gets to Tanzania, trucks, gets to border. Ikifika tu Namanga hivi, unga 60 bob. These farmers are not happy with that, City.
You know, this story of maize, more maize, no maize, if you just go 2 years into history, we were talking about a glut country that produced maize. This same Zambia did not know what to do with their maize. Now, a question I ask is, okay, so when you have an overproduction, what do? You don't have the capacity to store it. Now, a country like China does precisely that.
They store.
Oh, yes. And they, if you're talking about stocks, they probably have the largest stock of maize on the planet. So, when one talks about even Kenya, when we have a situation where we have more maize than we know what to do with, we have National Cereals and Produce Board. You keep asking the question, there are these things we refer to as best practices. Why is it that we are not doing this? Why is it that we move from one season of abundance to abject poverty, the next one, to the point where we don't even know what to do with ourselves? Surely. And then you have ministries that deal with agriculture. Then you have a whole ministry that deals with planning. You have another ministry that deals with God knows what is supposed to relate to all these things. So you have to ask the question, so should we collapse these ministries and send everybody home?
This man was once the PS for planning.
Why do you think I've taken that discussion why do you think I've taken that discussion in that direction? Because
he was once PS for planning. Let's start with Sasa tuko hapa. Had you planned for this?
The beauty is actually most of those things that we are talking about are planned because we are a country that plans. The problem is we do not implement the plans. Yeah. When we talk about the imports, we don't. The issue of importing maize in the current season, duty-free, nobody has an issue with that. Yeah, because we find ourselves in the situation and the circumstances we are in where there's a maize shortage, and the only solution for that shortage, at least in the short term, is the importation. The problem we have is the long term, because the long term plan cannot be going to Zambia to lease land. Zambia has 3.8 million arable hectares of arable land. Kenya has 5.8 million hectares of arable land, meaning we have 2 million hectares more than Zambia. And what you're going to lease is 50,000. Surely Galana Kulalu is 1.75 million hectares. You've not even gone to Bura. All these actually lying bare. If you talk of Galana Kulalu, this is a project that was initiated in 2014. It's 1.75 million, but initially was intended for 1 million being put under irrigation and maize for a large percentage of it. We came in, we brought the Israelis, the Green Avant, and we gave them a contract to start to do for us a demo farm of 10,000 acres. After we sank in about 7.2 billion, I think almost 8 billion. Part of it from the Israeli government, part of it from National Irrigation Board. The project failed. But at the point of failure, a lot of it was said that there are cartels who used to import the maize and all that. And there's a reason that it failed. But we were able to produce about 32 bags per acre at that point. They were targeting 40 bags, 35 to 40 bags per acre. It means that it's actually viable.
The project is viable.
The project is viable. It's the implementation that was wrong. This year in January, the president went to Galana Kulalu. I went with these guys, with a contractor. I also went with the Twiga Foods. And it was agreed that immediately that there are two things that are required. One is to do up a very big dam for about 30 or 40 billion, which was to be done on PPP. And then the contractor was to release, to get about 5 or 10,000 acres ready immediately. So that is what I will see as a long-term plan. So that's why for us, when we saw that the minister, on a statement saying that for the short-term plan, we are importing. But for the long-term, we have agreed with Zambia that we will be growing maize there. You see, hata nafikiria, when I go to church and praying for bounty in this country, and I will be saying, God, help the rains in Kenya and Zambia. Please allow us to just pray for one country. We can't be praying for two countries.
But let me just ask this question. Whenever we are told about the failure of the Galana Kulalu project, a lot of things are said about it. That's not my interest. This project was nestled in the Tana Delta, is it not?
Yes.
What do you need the dam for? What do you need the irrigation for? Just explain to me, because the thing that place doesn't lack is water.
Yes.
So when you say you want to build a dam, when you say you want to have irrigation, what are you saying? We want to use the water that exists there to do all these things?
Yes.
And in the absence of what we are suggesting, this thing cannot work. Is that what we're saying?
No, you see, the irrigation essentially is to create a dam to trap the water, and then that water can now be reticulated across the vast lands. You see,
it can be harnessed and then controlled.
Then reticulated. You see, right now it's just a river, so it's just flowing. So you need to be able to now contain it in large amounts, because it just crosses to the Indian Ocean, and then now so that the entire 1 million acres that has initially been demarcated now can people downstream and across can be able to access that water, and that can actually be done even by PPP.
Right now,
because the farmers, whoever, if like the initial Galana Kulalu, they trained 250 farmers in Israel, who are supposed to come in and through that acquired skill to come in to be allocated the land to be able to farm. So if we say like this many youth that can be given 5 acres or 10 acres or 50 acres, yeah, and they are trained. They are the ones who will be paying for that water. So as part of their costs, they will know the water that I'm getting from the dam, I'll be paying so much for per cubic meter, but then the water will be available.
Is this the same region where some Middle Eastern country at some point had wanted to lease land?
Yes. Actually, it was Qatar. And I think also, was it Kuwait, that they had wanted to actually lease that whole piece to grow food for themselves. Yeah, this whole agenda, I think that's where it came from. but we have seen the countries like Saudi Arabia are now growing wheat in the deserts.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, through desalination of ocean water.
Yes.
Yeah, you can imagine how expensive that is. We've seen Egypt building a 35 kilometers river, costing $58 billion.
Exactly, 174.
174 in total. So costing $58 billion. To be able to increase the land under cultivation. Those are the long term. That's what long term means. Of course, Egypt has a capacity of going to South Sudan, the source of the Nile, and telling them you're not using your land. We want 1 million acres. And they'll get it because South Sudan is not using it. But they don't, because a country that cannot feed itself is not free. If you're growing food in Zambia and Zambia has a shortage, they will tell you, unfortunately, your maize cannot leave Zambia. Because even our people are hungry. So leave it here, we'll compensate you another year. Yes, ama tugawane, or we increase the taxes on it so that you cannot not move it. So that capacity has to be built in Kenya, and we have enough land for that. Zambia is a landlocked country. You can imagine how will we get fertilizer to Zambia if we can't get it to Kenya? On Tazara, if we believe that Zambia has such good policies that can get us more maize per acre,
and at a lower cost.
The CS is government. Bring those policies here, localize them.
But you know the discussion is actually incomplete in my mind. You know why? If you're saying they have 3 harvests in a year, does it then not speak of the type of grain that you use? Yes, it may be the place that you plant, because I know, for instance, in the Wasingishu area, they harvest probably once a year. Okay. Now, where I come from, a place called Muhoroni, we harvest maize twice a year. Okay. So, are we saying that there are no parts of this country where you can plant a certain variety of maize seed and get 3 harvests a year if it is possible? I mean, we have Calro that does these things. My personal belief is that there exists not only the technology but the knowledge to do exactly what we're saying they want to do in Zambia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you see, the reason why we have 1 or 2 seasons is because it goes with the rain patterns.
Yes.
But if you irrigate it, then you can have maize whenever you want. And that's the purpose of the Galana Kulalu. Because you can shorten the period with the Calro and all this to 3 months. And also the fact that the water is available full time, then you can be able to do it for even 4 times a year. This one you get it out, put the next one. So the capacity is there. It's the will. Because if we are willing to go spend money in Zambia, then we should be willing to spend that money here in Kenya.
I want to ask a question that relates to your immediate previous former position as planning. Planning is I'm told as a layman that people plan in various stages: as immediate, medium term, long term. Now, would you say that in the time when you were PS in that particular ministry, that we had mapped out the plans we have for this country, for the next 10, 20, 30 years? What had we done?
Yes, we operate under the Vision 2030 blueprint. So we are almost there. We are 7 years to go. This is the final.
So everything which relates to this country, whether it's agriculture, whether it's industry, whether it's education, all those things have been planned for up until that particular point.
Until 2030, yes. Beyond that, we have not planned.
All right.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
if we go into the details of our planning, it also means therefore that we plan for the eventuality that, or the possibility that there might be a drought. We plan for the possibility that we may have more rain than we know what to do with.
Yes.
Simply because we are often told by the experts that expect this. And these days, the science of predicting weather and what have you is fairly accurate.
Yes.
If you're told it will happen, it will happen. Okay? Now, if we have all those plans in place, then you say it's the will. But beyond the will, do these plans need an optimum, or do they need a perfect condition for them to be implemented, or do they also take care of certain vagaries that may not have been foreseen? For instance, we didn't foresee COVID. This very long drought, maybe we did not foresee. How do you ensure that the plans, if implemented, work? That's really what I'm asking.
you see, the issue, as you said, is not in the planning. The plans are there. Actually, we have beautiful plans. I don't think there is anyone who has better plans than us. The failure is in the implementation. When you're talking about cereal, we have the NCPB, National Cereal and Produce Board. It's supposed to be exactly what you had said about what China does. It's for them to buy, to keep stock, and to ensure that they plan on stocking it for us. But a lot of issues come that the whole issue of cartels. Yeah, there are people who do not want there to be stocks. Yeah, so that to allow them to keep. They're in the business of importing. They're waiting. They want the cereal board to be saying, we have cereal for another 1 month. Yeah. And after that, Kenyans, you can go starve or eat yams. Yeah. So the government comes in and says, Kenyans can't eat yams. So you guys go ahead.
Import.
bring the maize. Yeah. So there has to be the implementation is really where this thing is hurting. Yeah. And those organizations have to be put to task. Yeah, they have to be put into serious task, because serious board can be surely how they were refusing to buy maize from farmers at 3,000 shillings last year. Right now it's 5,000 shillings. Yeah.
And they bought maize at 5,000.
They've bought maize at 5,000, even more. When you add duty, it's coming to about 6,000. Yeah. So, and at this point, they will still say that they don't have money for that. So I think the cartelization of that whole sector is what needs to be looked into.
You know, I'm looking at our food production and food security, and I'm looking at the county governments. Now, when we plan, now that we do have county governments, how exactly does the national government ensure that the planning cascades into the counties and that they're implemented? Because government is in charge of policy, even if a ministry is devolved into the county system, but still the government is in charge of policy. I'm saying this because even when we talk of farming and outputs, it's within counties.
Yeah.
And so the counties ought to have a say.
Yes, counties have the CIDPs, the County Integrated Development Plans,
yes.
Which then is the cascading of the national plans into the counties. The unfortunate thing then comes in is which areas are devolved. Agriculture is devolved, but the food security is not. Food security still sits under the national government. And the issues of agriculture that are devolved is everything other than policy. So policy still sits with the national government. Counties can't really do much. I've seen that they are not even able to pay salaries. Yeah. So
there's that detail, isn't it? Eric, they haven't paid, isn't it?
Yeah.
They haven't received a shilling from
from December.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the story of own source revenue at best is usually vague. Yes.
It's not vague, it's because they keep it vague, because they steal it. Yeah. They steal it as source at the markets. Yeah. So there's really, they budget for it, but they collect it and bank it themselves. They eat it. Yeah. Yeah. And that happens when you're not getting money from the national government to steal. So you steal what's available. Yeah. Yeah. So then you find that the issue then at county, even operational, they can't operate.
But then, if we look at now, let's just look at it from this angle. Devolution, no, agriculture is devolved.
Yes.
Policy is still national. And it makes sense for policy to be national because you're looking countrywide, you're looking food security, national, fine. At the county level, with all these devolved functions, shouldn't it be that now counties are talking about how they can support farmers so that then farmers can produce, how they can support farmers to produce food cheaply or more affordably, so that the food is available in the market. Why is the failure when we get to a point where we actually don't even have... We are importing grain, we are importing maize, we are looking to import beans, we are importing rice, we're buying rice from the farmers here, but we are still importing more. What's the weak link?
The failure in our agriculture could partly be on the devolution itself. Before devolution, we had extension services and extension service workers.
Before devolution?
Before devolution.
It was before the new century.
That one was immediately after independence, and then it disappeared.
It's been there for a very long time.
On paper.
Actually, I remember myself, even this, the veterinary, not veterinary, we used to have these agriculture extension officers.
It used to be called Girigasha.
Yes. They were coming at home, even as late as by the time I was leaving the country in 2000. They were there. They were coming for the tea factory, for our maize, for their animals, the cows. They're the ones who even helped to move us from the ngombes with the humps. I think there was a sahiwals to the Frisians. So it was there and it was working. They're the ones who are helping us on enhance our yields, know the kind of the grain to plant, the harvest, the seeds, the practices, the farming practices. And so when agriculture was devolved, it was extension services was actually one of the key things. Because then the counties are able to appreciate and understand exactly what can be grown there. And have those extension workers guide the farmers on the same. But that's one thing that has never picked up.
But then, and this is where the argument is, that actually these extension services had collapsed even before devolution came in.
So
otherwise, counties would have just inherited the extension workers into the county system. There was nobody to inherit.
But they inherited the function. They inherited the function.
But not the officers.
So if you inherit the function and you genuinely want to get it to work, you will put it to work before you look for other things to do. So, and if agriculture, for some of these counties, the mainstay is agriculture. I'm saying that coming from Muranga. Across, you're talking Trans Nzoia, you're talking all these other counties that actually are producing the food for our country. And they're the majority of them. For that covers that 10.2% of our arable land. Then if we now got the extension services to work, then we'd be seeing the yields going up. We'll see the kind of produce that is put by the farmers to ensure that we not just on subsistence. The farmers, whatever they are putting up, is something that gives them money, and delivers good yields, and also for our country helps us becoming food sufficient. So I think there was a ranking last year that we were the 129th hungriest country because we cannot feed ourselves. So when we see such headlines, what does it speak to us? Does it tell us change the way you're doing things, or does it tell us go to Zambia?
Maybe that's part of the change.
Because soon it will say, for Pakistan, we'll lease land to grow our rice. Or to Amwea, relax. We no longer need your rice.
Tutajenga manyumba. It's 26 minutes to 8. Let's take a break. Irungu Nyakera is the party leader of Farmers Party. He was a candidate in the gubernatorial election for Muranga County. What number were you?
I can't remember. Just not one.
Okay. And previously, Irungu served as a PS in the Uhuruto administration, serving as PS for planning, and before that, PS for transport.
Correct.
Kenya's biggest conversation continues shortly. Showmax.com. Go to showmax.com, look at the packages that they have, select a package that suits your pocket, because you get access to very, very good content. Showmax has now released Kenya's first telenovela. It's called Second Family. Go and watch it. It stars people like Ian Bogwa, like Nick Ndeda, and other hot stars from Kenya. Showmax.com.
Are you looking for your dream home or the perfect plot of land to build on? Look no further than Digger Real Estate, the e-commerce site for all your real estate needs. From cozy apartments to sprawling estates, we have a wide selection of houses for rent and for sale. And if you're looking to build from scratch, we have prime plots of land available for purchase. Don't settle for anything less than your ideal home. Head to realestate.digger.co.ke today to start your search. Digger Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Can you dig it?
I'm sure you're wondering how you can spend less and get more as we approach the Easter period. Well, the Standard Digital e-paper has a solution for you, and it's the half-price Easter special. For all news and entertainment buffs who look for a credible source of information and content they love, well, this one's for you. We're offering you a chance to pay half for the full story and all the extras. Instead of 6,199 Kenya shillings, pay 3,099 Kenya shillings and stay on top of what is happening across the globe. At your own convenience, for less. This incredible offer is valid till 30th April 2023. Subscribe now. Visit epaper.standardmedia.co.ke and enjoy the half-price Easter special. Get the full story all year long.
That's how you like it.
Only with Standard Digital e-paper. Standard Digital e-paper. Tap up. Just how you like it.
All right, so let me tell you how the weather is looking like. Cloudy in Nairobi at 16. Cloudy also in Mombasa at 16. Cloudy in Malindi at 26. No, Mombasa is 26 as well. Kisumu cloudy at 19. Nyeri cloudy at 16. Nakuru cloudy at 14. Western Kakamega cloudy at 18 and Eldoret cloudy at 14. Kampala light rains at 20. Johannesburg partly sunny at 14. Dar es Salaam sunny at 25. Lagos cloudy at 27. Kinshasa clear skies at 22. London mostly cloudy at 6. Air quality alert over New York at 22. And Paris is a mostly cloudy morning at 5.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The situation has done its thing on North Airport Road and into Outer Ring Road. So the end of Outer Ring Road into North Airport Road, coming all the way to City Cabanas, into that interchange at Changombe, as you then cross back into into Mombasa Road. It's very, very busy. All of this, of course, is caused by that interchange into getting back into Mombasa Road from North Airport Road. That issue needs to be addressed. Langata Road is looking okay. Aerodrome Road, getting into Bunyala roundabout is busy. More the Jogoo Road is busy at Makadara and also at Church Amin, Likoni Road Junction and City Stadium roundabout. Very, very busy. Landis Road is getting busy as you get into Wakulima Market. Thika Superhighway, it stretches to KCA University coming towards the interchange with Kiambu Road, and then after that at the tunnel of Pangani it clears. Muranga Road is good and Wangari Maathai Road is good. Limuru Road is busy as you meet with Muthaiga Road. That's where the traffic begins. Other roads are looking okay coming into town. Actually, Kiambu Road is not as bad today as it gets in some parts of the morning. It starts at DCI headquarters coming towards the interchange. Anything for us to report? Let us know at Spice FM KE.
Spice up your life.
Twenty minutes to 8, the conversation continues with the Farmers Party leader, Irungu Nyakera, who's here to talk about our food security in the country and what it is that farmers ought to be getting in terms of support so they can do this. One of the things that the CS for Agriculture said is the cost of production in Zambia is ridiculously low. He was talking about something like, is it $30 per ton or $300 per ton, something that is just amazing. How would they get to such low production prices? Is it because their land is arable and still virgin, hasn't been spoiled, or what else?
Or is it that they are very heavily subsidized?
Could be both. Could be both, actually. And also, you see, there is that the cost of production, but then you also need to be told the costs to get it to Kenya. Because you remember, Zambia is a landlocked country.
Yeah.
So getting it again on the rail from Tazara to Beira or to Tanzania, then on the ships or the trucks to Mombasa, you might find that it increases the cost. But the one is, it depends on the bags per acre. Yeah, because the more bags per acre you get, the cheaper it becomes. Yeah. So for us, I know, like back in Murang'a, we usually do, when you're doing very well, you're doing like 3 bags
an acre.
An acre. Yeah. Because of the poor
what
farming
did you
practices.
do to your soils?
Yeah, poor farming practices. Then, of course, the issue of fertilizer. Fertilizer is too expensive right now. It's going for almost 7,000 shillings. So you'll find that most farmers are not using it. The issues of if you decide to use manure, probably not doing it as much, because also it's quite expensive. So you find that then the yields come down. So what we need to do is get the right grains, and using Calro and the others to give us for the different climates, like the way we used to have Katumani for the dry areas. With that, then it will increase our yields. 2, the issues of the inputs, bringing down the cost of inputs. Because you see, when we import, there are things that we do, even import the inflation. It's what's bringing up the pressure on our dollar. So that loss that we would have made by the dollar weakening, we can actually put that money into subsidies, for inputs. We've moved from 10%, importing 10% of our food to about 17% currently in less than a decade. It means that is more pressure. So import, we need to give subsidies on fertilizer. We need to give subsidies on all the other inputs that we have. Then we need to bring back the extension services. So that those extension service workers can be able to help our farmers improve on the yield. Then finally, and for farmers, what's most important is markets. The same way we are saying that we will guarantee the farmers in Zambia purchase of their crops. Let's guarantee our farmers that you finish farming, there's a market. Because what happens is, you are told to grow maize, you grow maize, and then you had been told it will be bought at 3,000 shillings, and then the NCPB comes and says, there's too much maize, we'll buy it at 1,000 shillings. You see, you kill the spirit of these farmers. So the same way you treat those other farmers, let's treat our farmers the same. Let's create the capacity for actually having food reserves, so that, as we said, if there is too much maize this year, let's have stores that we can stock this maize for the next 2-3 years, so that by that time we are not struggling again to bring in imports. Then the cartelization of that sector and that line, there are too many cartels that are operating there. Those cartels will never want us to be food sufficient. They will always want to have those quotas to import their maize and their mealies and everything else at that time. If you ask yourself, like we're giving an example of edible oils. Last year alone, we imported 90 billion shillings worth of edible oils, and we'll do the same this year. Last year alone, we imported 25 billion worth of rice. We'll do the same this year. The amount of money we made exporting coffee, all of it went back to importing rice. So we have to have a real conversation on food sufficiency, and we have to remove those middlemen and the cartels from the equation. Let them do something else. But on issues that are so pertinent and critical, like food security, I think the government should act very firmly.
How do you get rid of those cartels? When you say, okay, so let's remove the cartels, what ought to happen?
They do not have to be part of policy. You see, if we come up with like the Galana Kulalu, as we had said, is a project that would work. I believe that it actually can work. I was speaking to the chairman of NIB, National Irrigation Board, last week, and we were speaking about this Galana Kulalu. And himself, he tells me this thing can work. Yeah. It just needs the government, one, to put the right policies towards its execution, to put money behind it, and not to listen to anybody who's trying to drive it the wrong direction. We have a lot of people who will be willing to go there and farm. Yeah, the government just needs to ensure that we have enough water, and then the people who are there, they are rightly trained, and then there's a market for their produce. Yeah.
The fight against this, though, will come into you're fighting the private sector and the free business. Because when you talk about cartel, it's not government. This is the private sector that comes in. How do you separate that fight against cartel as you still say that, the way to advance our sector is to go more into PPPs, working with the private sector to improve our food production?
But is government giving this private sector guys contracts to import? Yeah, so it's government. So the corruption starts with government. Yeah, so if they can say we need to reduce this import and give themselves targets, and the president says you have targets, we import more next year than we imported this year, we fire you. Yeah, and you sign there. Next year you see that you've imported more, you just tender your resignation and you're out. We need someone who's firm. The president has to be firm on it, because we cannot be talking about food sufficiency year in, year out. We cannot be talking about the weakening of the shilling year in, year out. And we are seeing that we are importing nonsense that can actually be grown locally.
Can also be just... Okay. The issue of market, you talked about making... It's sort of like guaranteeing our farmers that there'll be a market.
Yes.
For off-taking.
Yes.
Is it also guaranteeing their income? Is this where the issue of guaranteed minimum income comes in?
Yes, it does.
Explain that concept.
And it's not just in Kenya. If you look at the US, yeah, the corn farmers have the guaranteed uptake from government, and the guarantee will be even from the National Cereal Produce Board. Yeah, I was talking to these marketers. We have about 52 markets in Nairobi, and they are telling me the biggest challenge is that when they are selling things like the tomatoes and fruits in a few days, then they are spoiled. Yeah, and they don't have an offtake for them. Yeah, which means that if these markets places could even have chillers. Yeah, or because the tomatoes when they ripen, they can also be an offtake, because they can make potato these ketchups and all this. Yeah, so we have to think of for us to guarantee. That's where the private sector comes in. It's about value addition. Actually, value addition adds 5 times the value of the produce. Yeah, if you do the value addition. So yes, there is a way to guarantee. Yeah, we can guarantee directly as government for minimum guarantee on key crops, like what you're saying on cereals, because they go into the national reserves. Yeah, and then on these others, you can come up with the value addition. When I was a PS under planning, with what we had proposed was actually, and we had worked it out with Kari and Calro, was actually putting up these chillers, and across we had identified about 9 locations nationally, where you'd have people will know that once I harvest my tomatoes, there's a place that I can take them, to be there even as I look for the market. My fruits, my sukuma wiki, and those things can actually be chilled for a period of even up to 2 weeks.
Why doesn't it work? I mean, I'm just looking back at, if you look at the cooperatives, the farmer cooperatives that had come up, farmer cooperatives were doing all that, aggregating, and when you aggregate, then you're able to, first of all, store. Then if the storage requires some sort of cold chain, then the cooperative can put up a cold chain. Why did these things collapse? Because we had cooperatives that had started doing this. We had cooperatives in milk that were doing that.
In fact, everything you're saying...
We had cooperatives for potatoes that were starting to do cold chain.
Done.
Yeah.
And they were slowly moving to the next level that we're speaking of. And then suddenly we were back to the dark ages.
Yes. Because the cooperative is the best in terms of aggregation, but also for the cooperative to be able to aggregate, then they need to also have enough volumes. So sometimes the issue came up because of wrangles, leadership wrangles. You found another cooperative has opened.
So people open cooperatives like churches.
Yes. They split. They say we have another branch. So it gets to a point where it's no longer making sense, no longer viable. But I think in terms of the cooperative movement, that's actually an area that we need to look at, and for purposes of aggregation, market, and also value addition.
There's a concept that is often used by government. It's called protectionism. We had the CEO of Bidco Oil sitting exactly where you're sitting, and he told us something interesting. He said that those who are in that business of manufacturing edible oils only use up to 65% of their capacity. The CEO of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers told us something similar. Okay? Now that 65% of their capacity meets the needs that we have. So when we say we are we importing the base, what you need to manufacture the edible oils, or are we importing the finished product? And if we are, where does the government's role in ensuring that it protects its industries, it protects its farmers come in? Because again, with farmers, countries are known to even pay farmers not to produce for fear of a glut. In some cases, when they're protecting, they make sure that a similar product being imported is so expensive that you'd rather buy the local one. Meaning, local industry, local capacity is enhanced. Now, in our planning, I'm asking two questions. One, do we include such thoughts, such aspirations? And if we do, why is it that we know them in theory, but we never see them in practice?
One, I think of the 90 billion that's of edible oils, I would say more than 60% will be finished. 60-70% will be finished. Edible oils, and actually that then brings the thoughts on issues of even that protectionism, because it's important for the economy, because you cannot be going to build another person's economy when you're killing yours. If the Bidco and the others are at 65%, if they were at 100, they'd use more fuel, they'd use more labor.
They'd pay the government more
taxes. Yes. Things that we do not get from those other places. Less of our youth will be jobless. So there is a lot that comes with actually localizing our industries and our production. So even the other day when we were speaking about the issues of the dollar, we were talking of we need to actually restrict importation on some things that are necessary and that can be produced locally. And that way we help uplift our shilling. So from a planning point, all those things are actually done. All those things are looked at. That's why I was saying our biggest issue is not the planning, it's the implementation. At the port of Mombasa, and those things come in, who's looking at them?
This implementation story though, because we hear it a lot.
A great deal.
The government plans and the government should implement. So you're saying that the government plans, but the government does not have the capacity or the willingness to implement.
Yes, you see, planning. The reason why planning is not very difficult is it brings together, and everybody with all these great ideas gets to put them in, and they are put in a very beautiful book. That's usually put in a shelf and gathers dust. The implementation, is what they say, ground. Now this is the ground.
And where is the disconnect?
The disconnect is now at the ground. Everybody is trying to make a coin. So that's where you find I will allow you to bring in an extra container without even registering it there. I will allow you to bring in something above a quota. I will allow you to import duty free, because by the time you import something for 100 million shillings, there's 10 million for me. So the implementation is not just for the books. It's actually has there is real financial significance for some people. Yeah, and that's where the issues of corruption come in.
So that's where corruption now.
Yes.
Corruption runs our implementation.
Yes.
You know, the story of edible oils is a sad one. It's sad because as far back as 1974, we had a blueprint of what to do. Why? We had looked at India. India had moved from being an importer to meeting their domestic consumption, even exporting, in a period of 3 years. Why? They looked at the fundamentals of producing this edible oil. What seeds do you need? What cereals do you need? All that. And they had a plan for growing it. We had something similar. We had cashew nuts at the coast. We talked about. There was even a movement and even a unit, an agency formed by government to ensure that this thing was done. But it died, of course. Now, right now, we hear talks of we want to go and grow palm oil, palm trees, palm whatever it is in Uganda. And I'm thinking, for heaven's sake. Why is it that our story is always something we're going to do in the future? And yet the reality is this very thing we're talking about doing in the future, we had already done, we had a blueprint for it, and we killed it. Now, you're talking about cartels. These cartels are people who live in this country and individuals who must have influence, because it is not possible for you to circumvent a government policy if you don't have power.
Yeah.
So it means that the very people who tell us they want to implement the policies in government, they're the very, very people who are the cartels. That's the only thing that we're being told. Because I'm listening, I'm looking, I'm saying, who has the power to say one thing and do the complete opposite and nothing happens to them? Somebody in authority.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So,
let's conclude the conversation. And Ironga, I've got to ask you this political question. So, Farmers Party. Cleopa Malala is appointed UDA Secretary General. He immediately embarks on a conversation of let's build a giant party. And he says, let's see how we can consolidate all the affiliate parties of Azimio. And then there's all hue and cry. Musalia Mudavadi of ANC says, or whatever, Ford Kenya says, this and the other. One day, Cleopa Malala says, actually, there are parties that are already having conversations with UDA. They are folding up so they can now join UDA. One party was Farmers Party. So is Farmers Party still in existence, or has Farmers Party folded to join UDA?
You know, when we were told about the politics of is it chicanery and all this crookedness and crookedry that it has ended, we thought that it had. You see, we were called for a meeting just to discuss the issues of Kenya Kwanza, and how as Kenya Kwanza we can have more activities, how we can come together, we can form a secretariat, for how we operationalize our activities and really building to the future. And we had a beautiful meeting, a closed door meeting. Then when the meeting ended, we were told, by the way, the media is here. Let's just go address the media. So when we're addressing the media, the statement is there, has been written, is being read, is saying that these 6 parties have agreed to fold, they'll start dissolving. Next week they'll see the registrar and they will no longer be there.
And you're seated
there. And then now after the statement, you're told, okay, you speak. So for me, I said, we are happy to be in a partnership. But I didn't say anything about that we have dissolved. And later on, we issued a statement as Farmers Party and said, we are not merging, we have not merged, we are not part of UDA, we are not dissolving, and we remain a party to represent farmers and Kenyans. So
that had not even been an agenda for that meeting?
No, it was not an agenda. So we didn't even know where it came from. But again, you cannot disrespect the president's party. So you just have to keep quiet until the end of it. And then from there, now you come and have to answer to Kenyans and to my members. My members were livid, asking me, why have you dissolved our party?
Without asking us first.
Without asking us. With the same thing we are saying, public participation. You have to ensure that, and the minister has to ensure public participation before taking us to Zambia.
Irongo, thank you very much for joining us. Irongo Jakera is the party leader of Farmers Party, which is not dissolving, like he says, which is not folding, which has not gone to the register of political parties or anything. We've been talking about food security in this country. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, it's 8 a.m.
Ezekiel Machogu has dismissed allegations of cheating during the 2022 KCSE examinations. The committee has been investigating allegations of cheating where several schools in Kisii and Nyeri counties allegedly stole the exams. In the survey, it was found that 51 candidates got A-plane max in Kisii County, 31 others got A-plane in Nyeri County, and not 946 candidates in the two counties. The Nyeri High School, which was the most lead up, had 28 A-planes, and that principal who recorded the results had been transferred from Maranda National Boys School. According to Machogu, apart from the spreading propaganda, Kisii and Nyeri had the lowest number of A-plane grades in the entire Nyanza area. Machogu is saying that Siaya had the highest number of A-planes, where 72 candidates got that grade, followed by Homa Bay and Migori 62 and Kisumu 59. Machogu has made it clear that Kiambu led in the number of A-plane grades for 226 candidates. Machogu has also mentioned the complaints about the difference in average marks in Nakuru as being caused by head teachers. Now, the Jubilee Party has stated that it will not walk out of... I beg your pardon. I'll be back in an hour. I'm Dennis Asera. Good morning.
Okay, let me tell you what's happening on the roads. Thika Superhighway is busy from Utali. The traffic on Kiambu Road stretches slightly, going all the way to DCI headquarters. And then after that, Muranga Road is clear and Wangari Maathai Road is clear. Muranga Road gets busy at Ngara into Globe Cinema roundabout. Uhuru Highway is busy as you leave Museum Hill coming into University Way roundabout and also into Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Those are busy. Landis Road busy into Haile Selassie Avenue at Wakulima Market. Langata Road busy as you approach Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Lusaka Road is also busy. Aerodrome Road is busy. Ngong Road is busy at the lights. Lunga Road is busy as you join into Outer Ring Road and Jogoo Road. Mombasa Road is moving well, apart from this place at City Cabanas, where traffic from North Airport Road is hectic, all the way stretching to beyond Outer Ring Road Junction. Anything that we can talk about or report, please let us know by tagging us on Twitter at SpiceFMKE.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation
4
Room.
minutes after 8,
the only way to start.
Continues, and thank you very much for keeping it locked on Spice FM on KTN Home and also online on YouTube and Facebook. This is The Situation Room. Ndu is away this week, so it's only Eric Latif and CT Muga and our guests. Today at 10 a.m., Chief Justice Martha Koome will be launching the e-filing for Mombasa, Tononoka, Shanzu and the SGBV courts from 10 a.m. today, Friday the 14th of April 2023. So from today, those courts will actually now have online services which will include filing of new cases, filing additional documents in existing cases, e-payments, e-services, tracking of case progress. If you want to request for decree or warrant, issuance of rulings, judgments or proceedings, all these things will be happening online from today once the Chief Justice launches this e-filing for Mombasa, Tononoka, Shanzu and the SGBV courts. This is all in the Mombasa law courts happening now. So this is, of course, a big thing that's happening when you talk about improving efficiency and of our judicial systems and our court services. This is one of the things. The Chief Justice, when she took office, she said she wants to see social transformation through access to justice. And when you have better access to justice, when you can actually do things online, then it improves a lot of your services. For more information, visit judiciary.go.ke. That's judiciary.go.ke. Or you can go to the e-filing platform. That is efiling.court.go.ke. efiling.court.go.ke. Conversation continues. This time we want to have a conversation with a politician and an author and an advocate of the High Court, Saitaba Ole Kanchori. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, listeners and viewers.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Asante sana.
Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you.
Before we move into our conversation, this sort of e-filing of court systems, you're an advocate, you're an officer of the court.
Yes, I am.
Can you talk about what that has done actually in terms of improving efficiency and working conditions for all?
Yes, it's always it's always good to see institutions, grow from manual to digital, and this is the age that we are in. This is something that was introduced, I think, about 3-4 years ago by the former Chief Justice David Maraga. It initially had its challenges, like everything new, but it's taking shape. Judges and the court system is beginning to fully integrate technology in its operations. And I would say, paperwork at times can be very messy because the courts deal with a lot of papers. And so therefore, dealing with the online system of filing has made it much easier to access justice, much easier to trace your documents in court.
Yeah.
And of course, it has its challenges. One of which is sometimes it's it's like putting good software in the wrong hardware. So sometimes it takes time. It takes time for people to catch up, but it's definitely a move in the right direction. But of course, as insofar as justice, dispensation, and the administration of justice is concerned, I would say that the court needs to, apart from these other things that they are doing, they need to put their act together in terms of the accusations that the court has, the judicial system is corrupt. The accusations, some of which have come from very distinguished legal minds, that judges are always on the take on important issues. So those are I think those are the real fundamental issues.
Those are things that they still need to be worked on.
Those are the real fundamental issues that they really need to work on. Otherwise, it will be like what the Bible calls, whitewashing a tomb, and inside is decay. Yeah.
Okay, Saitaba. You are now an author, a published author.
Absolutely.
And your book is Why Baba is Not the Fifth. You're here so we can discuss that.
Yes.
To welcome us into this hour, CT, give us the day's proverb.
Well, this is our final proverb from the country of Mali. Like most of the proverbs we've read in the course of this week, this proverb is simple and straightforward. Success may sometimes be disguised as a disaster. Put on hold. I'll repeat it. Success may sometimes be disguised as a disaster. Put on hold. Can a proverb get any simpler?
Really, it can't. Success may sometimes be disguised as a disaster. Put on hold.
Yes.
What do you make of this particular proverb, Saitaba?
I'm seeing it, City, I always find his proverbs a bit, like they're leading questions. He's like a very good lawyer with a witness, and he wants the witness to give a certain testimony. So he guides the witness with his proverbs. In the courtroom, we call those leading questions. And they're not allowed, actually, if you're having your own witness. So, but I would say, yes, indeed, success can also be very destructive. Just like failure can also be edifying. So, success, indeed, can expose you. Because they say if you want to know a man, give him power. And success is power, by whatever form it comes. So if you also want to know a man, let him be successful and you know him. They will bring out the true colors. And sometimes the true colors are not that pleasant to the eyes.
Okay.
But there's also the other side of it, which is that, if you look at the flip side, that failure also is many times is actually, we learn more from our failures, our failings, and setbacks. So
failure is a step towards success.
Success, yes.
Okay. So about last year before August, we had interviews with you on Spice FM, on KTN, talking about the preparation for the election. You were Raila Odinga's chief agent, the Azimio presidential candidate, and you were really very much involved dealing with the IEBC before the election, on the day of the election, after the election with the counting, and then the tallying of all the votes. You were in Bomas. We saw you. You were at some point addressing the country, and the IEBC would tell this podium is for commissioners, boss. Sia yako. After the election, we invited you here again, and we asked you, so what do you think happened? And you give us some bits of what happened. Now you've put it all together into a book, and I see you've brought some copies.
Yes, I have a copy for you. I will sign it for you. But
yes,
you can meanwhile, yes, I can share with City. And also, this is City's copy.
Thank you very much, sir.
And this is Ndu's copy. So, she's not here today, but I'm sure you'll give it to her.
Keep it for her.
We will keep it for her.
This is actually City. This was yours. I was just about to sign it.
Okay.
This is Ndu's, but you can. I'll sign them.
We'll give it to her next
Very
year.
good.
I'll sign. Yeah. So.
Here's the book, Baba the Fifth. by Satana.
Why Baba is not the fifth?
Why Baba is not the fifth? You see, you've got to see the fine print.
Yeah. So you see, the art in the title of the book. Is when you see it, you read Baba the Fifth, but the story is why Baba is not the fifth. The reason for that is really, writing is a work of art. City, I know you know that, and that title has is twofold. One, it gives a story, but also it talks about Baba the Fifth. There is no other Baba the Fifth. There will never be another Baba the Fifth. So even when you see the title and it reads Baba the Fifth, there is no any other Baba the Fifth other than the distinguished Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the one man that this country will, for many decades and perhaps centuries to come, will talk about. A man who has contributed immensely to our progress as a nation.
But then this is the intriguing tragicomedy.
Yes.
Of how Raila Odinga lost to William Ruto in the presidential race.
Yes, that is a story. It is the story of how the elections of 2022 went down, and it speaks a lot about the things that could have been done differently, not just by us as Azimio, but also by IEBC, which was the referee in that contest. I've called it actually a conquest. The election, the win of William Ruto was more of a conquest than a contest. In war terms, we were not. It was not a contest. It was a conquest, and indeed we were conquered. And the reasons are laid bare in the book. And to answer your question, because you asked a very broad question, I'll give a broad answer. I have previously, on this show and on other platforms, I have said that Baba could not have lost the election of 2022 if, one, the election was free and fair. Baba could not have lost if the election was free and fair. Number two, if we had put the mechanisms, as Azimio, if we had put the mechanisms in place to ensure that even if the other side or the arbiter attempted any monkey business, we were able to forestall them, Baba could not have lost. And so that is a broad answer. Because Baba did not lose on the vote. I can tell you that without any fear of contradiction or any slightest demur whatsoever. Baba did not lose on the vote. And if they think, and if I am wrong
what
on
does
that,
mean? That Baba got more votes than
absolutely. And if
then where did they go?
They are in the server. Yeah, wafungue server. Wafungue server.
There are some things that you've said.
Yeah.
You have, in your book, you say how Raila Odinga lost to William Ruto.
Yes.
And this morning, you have talked about how Ruto won, how Ruto conquered.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a world of difference between losing, which is what we did. We lost. Yeah, because someone was declared a winner. So when you are not declared the winner, you have lost. But there is a world of difference between being declared a winner, and actually winning. Yeah, and that is the difference that this book actually paints. And there are many people who have talked without reading it. I encourage them to read it. Yeah, I encourage people to read the book.
Okay,
because this book is not just about the election. Actually, there is a whole philosophy behind the book, and it will be very insightful for many people who are talking without information.
To read the book.
To read the book.
Okay. Clearly granted, we will be having this conversation. We haven't read the book. We have read bits of it that have been published in the papers.
Yeah.
We have now received our copies. We are going to read it. It's something that we'd really love to read. So, you managed the election for the presidential candidate of Azimio. You saw the things that were happening. I mean, you were part of the election management board. You were the chief agent. You were very active and on the ground before, on the day, and after the election. You say that Raila could not have lost this election if it were free and fair.
Yes, absolutely.
What about the 2022 presidential election was not free and fair?
I have highlighted those things in the book, but let me just give you a few highlights. One, the 2022 election was one of the most mismanaged elections, even before the election. And the media, I'm thankful to the media. The media was very active. If you follow the headlines, a month to the elections and almost all the way to the elections, there were highlights calling it an election that is just about to be bungled. I think one of them said, the chaos was it a headline about the chaos in IEBC? There were so many headlines that spoke about an election that was going to be mismanaged. And if you remember, we have a very short memory as a country. I remember one of the journalists raised certain issues, even directly to the chairman of IEBC, and the chairman of IEBC and his CEO could not answer fundamental questions. The only issue is that while that was very clear even to the whole world, that IBC was, we had a situation where presidential ballot papers came in the cover of darkness. And I've said in the book that was one instance that even the other commissioners, call them the Cherera Four if you like, nearly came out to protest. But when they were actually asked to present their protest publicly, they chickened out. And of course that cowardice later came back to bite them. This world does not belong to cowards. So the Cherera Four, they have been served a dose of their own medicine. They are cowards. And cowards, even in hell, they will be the first ones to enter hell, if you read the Bible. Before the murderers get into hell, the cowards will get there before them.
I want a copy of that version.
I'll give it to you. They are enumerated. So there are so many things. And even on the election itself, on the eve of the election, the chairman of IEBC and his commissioners come out and say, oh, we made a mistake in gubernatorial ballot papers in these two of
Mombasa
the strongest
and Kakamega.
Azimio strongholds. Kakamega was Kiambu for Azimio. Is Kiambu for Azimio. Kakamega is the second most populous county in the country, vote-wise. And Mombasa is in the top 5. And both of them are strong Azimio strongholds. Vote rich. So, the Professor Gulie, one of the former commissioners, had before this, a month before, he had defended the printers and talked about the printers as if he was marketing them, and said how they were professional. You would have thought he's a salesman for the printers, And here they come on the eve of the election and say, oh, these people, they bungled the printing, so we will not have elections in Kakamega for governor. And there are many people who will not have elections, and they thought the elections were postponed in those two Azimio strongholds entirely. So there are very many people who didn't even turn out to vote. So the book entails those things, and it actually talks about some of us picking up some of those issues and taking them to our team and our principals, and the principals just disregarded them.
What do you mean?
We took, some of those issues some of them were even in the public domain.
This is like even before the election?
Even before the elections.
Okay.
We took these issues and we tried to impress upon our principals and the team in its entirety that these are serious concerns. IEBC is looking like it's going to bungle this election. And these are the facts. I even did a protest to IEBC against, although this one I got my principal's consent to do, but everybody else was against it. Let us not complain. We are government. Why are we complaining? We are crying. We are looking bad. And I said no. I was concerned about a number of issues. I was concerned about the neutrality of returning officers, some of the returning officers, and I enumerated in a written protest letter as a national chief agent. So, but of course, because if you don't have the support, then the support and confidence of your team and your principal to raise these things in a strong manner, then you're not the candidate.
Let me ask this question. Even as you're saying this, I'm thinking, is it that you didn't have the support, or is it that the people you are working with, whether it is the principals or the people who had might and power within the Azimio structure, or is it that they had what I would refer to as competing interests, meaning they heard you, but their focus was elsewhere, and where their focus was of more concern than what you're saying, meaning, yes, maybe so, but our focus is here and this is what really counts. What was it?
It could be a little bit of both. Campaigns are a multifaceted affair. And even the players many times are distracted by so many other things. But you see, one of the things we kept saying, some of us, and I'm not the only one. I have said in the book, there were other senior Azimio stalwarts, the likes of Ngilu, the likes of Tuju, the likes of many others, who were concerned, as equally concerned as some of us, the likes of James Orengo, the likes of Otiende Amolo. We were all concerned. And it was very interesting that the people who were, who could have helped were the least listened to. And nobody seemed to want to hear anyone who was pointing, a picture of a situation that was not looking.
So what does that tell you?
It's a mishmash of things. Actually, one of the things is hubris.
Actually, for me, it's a lot clearer than that.
What is it?
It's a lot clearer than that. You're in a political competition. You have an opponent, and there are people who cannot seem, and some of them are seasoned politicians. They understand the wherefores of this particular exercise, and they seem disinterested. It means
they don't want.
Not only don't they want, they had already taken a position.
Of course.
They had already taken a position, and it wasn't the position that you're talking about. So
correct.
It
wasn't the position of winning.
It was not the position of this particular candidate winning. So it didn't matter what you said.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how loudly you shouted. Because I would argue that if somebody is a seasoned player in the political realm, someone mentions something, not only will it resonate, you will know. But if somebody is in that position and they ignore it, so.
But my brother City, how do you then explain, how do you then explain that one of the people who refused to listen is the candidate himself? How do you explain that?
I was about to ask that, actually.
If
the
that
most experienced person in that entire campaign is the candidate.
Yes.
He's the one who has actually been in elections for most number of times. He's the one who has, participated in these things. He's the one who knows the entire process of actually getting an election campaign together. And Saitaba is saying the principles, not even just the other people, the principles. Who are the principals, Saitaba? I can
Odinga
imagine.
and Martha Karua.
Those were the ones.
Yeah.
Now,
if those two seem not to be hearing what their chief agent is saying, are you saying that they are...
I am saying precisely
their
that.
mind was...
I am saying precisely that. I am saying they are taking a position. Okay? And that position would not allow them to hear what you are saying. Because how else do you explain it? If you are saying something which they ought to know and which you say is obvious. So either they know it and they know something else in addition, but I'm summarizing by saying they had a position.
You know, City, leaders at the highest level are very vulnerable people. When you work with them, you will realize how vulnerable they are. If you look at the greatest leaders even in the world, if you read the story of Daniel and how he was thrown into the lion's den, the emperor, the king of kings of Persia, was against it, but he was misled by his they're called satraps, his advisors. His advisors. So leaders generally, you'll see how the king of kings was so hesitant to throw Daniel in the lion's den, and he was even waking up at night to go and see whether he's okay. And he was the first person to go to the den to say, are you still there?
Are you okay?
Daniel? Are you okay? And the thing is this, leaders generally depend on the people they listen to. Do you know when a leader leaves his house, a leader of the stature of Raila Odinga, even William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, that kind of leadership level, they don't even know where their car is. They're taken to their car. The way you go, you know where your car is. They're actually led to their cars. They don't even know where. If they're not led, they'll be confused. When they go to an event, they don't know where to sit. They are shown where to sit. If they're not shown where to sit, they will stand and wonder. So they are so vulnerable that they entirely depend on the people they listen to. So when they're listening to the wrong people, then you expect a disaster.
I am delighted by your example of Daniel. Even before we get to Daniel, this king, I think his name was Nebuchadnezzar. You know what had happened? He had become a god. His people had told him, you, just the way you are. Just everything about you. You are a god. And you know what should happen? People should worship you. Daniel got into trouble because that's what he refused to do.
He refused to do, yes.
Okay? But prior to his refusing, he had been of use to who? The king.
To the king.
That's why the king was bothered about this thing. But he himself had decreed. So he wasn't going to go against his own decree.
Yes, right.
But he had become a god. Okay? Now, once any leader allows themselves to assume that ecclesiastical position, they are in trouble. Whether it is by their own thoughts or by the people they choose, they are in trouble. It does not matter what you say, they are in trouble. And the rule that they have, the end is nigh. It's not far.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just a small correction, City. The king was Darius.
It was Darius, not
Darius.
Yes.
Who had deposed Nebuchadnezzar's son, Belteshazzar. And this was a Medo-Persian empire that conquered the Babylonian Empire,
which had been Nebuchadnezzar.
Which had been and Nebuchadnezzar. I mean, it's the same region. So Babylon is Iraq, Persia is Iran. So you're right. You're absolutely right. I have called it in the book what you're describing. I've called it the scales of arrogance. The scales of arrogance. So the scales of arrogance had blinded some of these people. But I have also said that one of the people who did not get the temptation to be blinded by the power and so on was Raila himself. Raila was not blinded. He saw it, and every time I would raise these things to him, he would actually, he would see the point, and just before he reacts, he's led in a different direction. I am telling you, this is a fact. The other thing is that, as far as
Hold on.
Yes. Okay.
So you go to the principal.
Yes.
You raise issues and concerns with him.
Yes.
Baba, there's 1, 2, 3 issues.
Yes.
He's like, oh my goodness, yes, I can see this.
Mm.
And just when he's about to give you
okay,
directions and instructions of what to do, he is distracted.
Yes, he's distracted.
By
By his advisors. I have said,
You are one of his. You are his chief advisor.
I was not his chief advisor. I was his chief agent.
You're his chief mtu wa mkono.
Mtu wa mkono.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I have said in the book that I was more agent than chief.
Okay.
So I've said, I've said,
So what would the advisors tell him?
They will tell him, no, everything is okay. Those are not. We have already taken care of those concerns. Kanchori doesn't know certain things that we know.
Oh, there are some certain
things that they know, that they know that Kanchori doesn't know.
Above Kanchori's pay grade.
Yeah, exactly.
So
how would Kanchori know?
Mzuri sana
lakini hajui.
Mambo hailewi.
Hajui,
What did you understand them to be saying?
They were reassuring the candidate. They were leading the candidate down the garden path. They were the people that City talked about that had already decided that our candidate should not win. They were agents for the other side.
But at that point, when you were hearing the advisors now chiming in and advising the candidate and telling the candidate, in fact, there are these things we've taken care of, 1 or 2 things have been sorted. In fact, Kanchori just doesn't know what we have done.
Yes.
What were you hearing them to be saying? Were you hearing them to be saying that they are also working behind the scenes to address these issues?
Yes. You see
that they were what? They were influencing.
Yes, Eric.
The system.
When you're in the middle of in the thick of things, you are in the play. You're a gladiator in the ring. You're a player on the pitch. There are so many things that you're also juggling and whatever. And so when someone else comes and says, Kanchori, this one is taken care of, even when maybe you're 60% or 70% sure, you cannot also never, you're not a prophet and you're not a seer. So you can't say with certainty that you're right. So you are left with also some doubt, and they put doubt in you. Maybe I'm the one who is wrong. So you don't push beyond a certain point, because you also trust that what they're saying, they know what they're talking about. I mean, I'm not talking about people from the streets. I'm talking about Baba's closest allies and advisors. So, and they had, I wanted to believe that they had the most interest and investment in our candidate. So, but surprisingly, to the last minute, I started this immediately I was appointed. I think if you go back to the record, because the internet never forgets, I was appointed on the 6th. By the 9th, I was already on IBC's neck. And do you know how much hit I took because of that? I was told, no, leave IBC alone.
You are overzealous.
You are overzealous. We did not send you there to... I said, but what is my work? As a chief agent, what is my work if I cannot protect and if I cannot raise issues on the process? Because an election is not an event. So I started raising issues on the simulation, or the simulation, yeah? The simulation was shambolic. So when I raised those issues on the simulation being very shambolic, I was told, no. Those things you don't say. Those are things we will handle, diplomatically.
Let's take a break. 27 minutes to 9. Saitaba Ole Kanchori, author of this book here, Why Baba is Not the Fifth. It's out, and we are talking about it. He was Raila Odinga and Martha Karua's chief agent. That's the chief presidential candidate agent in the last election. And he's giving us the inside scoop of what was happening in the campaign and what he saw happen at Bomas of Kenya. Keep it here as we continue. The Second Family is showing on Showmax. New episode of the first Kenyan Showmax original telenovela, Second Family, landing on Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. Every Wednesday, new episode. Thursday, new episode. Today is Friday. A new episode will be joining. Second Family is the first Showmax original telenovela in Kenya and the 9th Showmax original title in Kenya, after Crime and Justice Season 1 and Season 2, after Baba Twins, after Single Kiasi Season 1 and Single 2, after Igiza, after County 49, after Pepeta, A Familiar Christmas, and The Real Housewives of Nairobi. A lot of good content available on Showmax. Go there and watch it. Showmax.com. Back shortly.
This is The Situation Room the only way to start your day.
Mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi today at 16, Mombasa cloudy at 28, Malindi cloudy at 28, Kisumu mostly cloudy at 21, Nyeri town as well cloudy at 17, Nakuru sunny at 17, Kampala mostly cloudy at 19, Kakamega sunny at 17 and Eldoret sunny at 22, Johannesburg sunny at 14, Dar es Salaam sunny at 25, Lagos partly cloudy at 27, Kinshasa at 22 and sunny, London cloudy at 7, New York cloudy at 21, Paris cloudy at 4. So it's only Johannesburg, Dar es Salaam and Lugari that is sunny today. Everywhere else in the world is cloudy. At Westlands, as you approach the mall, the traffic is busy, but after the mall, it clears as you head towards town until you get to Museum Hill Roundabout and thereabout, just at KBC, heading towards University, we're roundabout busy, and then going into Grand Regency, Laiko Regency, to Nyayo Stadium, Nyayo House Roundabout, that's Kenyatta Avenue Roundabout, busy. Thika Superhighway, it stretches to beyond the DCI headquarters, coming to Muthaiga. After Muthaiga, it clears at Pangani. So Muranga Road and Wangari Maathai roads, very okay. Jogoo Road is only busy at as you approach City Stadium roundabout. And Lunga Lunga Road is busy as it usually is. So it's clearing up now on Aerodrome Road. It's actually looking much better. As well as Nyayo Stadium roundabout, that's Lusaka Road and Langata Road. That's okay. Ngong Road is only busy at the lights.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Ole Kanchori is still our guest this hour. He has authored the book, Why Baba is Not the Fifth. He was the chief agent for the Azimio presidential candidate. He's giving us the inside scoop of what he saw happening. Sitting.
You know, sometimes when you look at political activities now with the wisdom of hindsight, it is easy to impute nefarious intent, and yet there's actually none. What you're actually seeing is selfish intent in operation. When people feel that their interests have been taken care of, now, in this lies the nefarious nature of politics, because it then removes completely from its orbit the other reality for which this entire process was intended. And it focuses on the individual and the interest that they believe is theirs. And with the time they convince themselves it's actually theirs by right, they will find ways of explaining it. But this particular election, if I look at it again now with the wisdom of hindsight, it went beyond those boundaries. Because the one thing that was believed over time and which had entered the realms of our political narrative was that so long as the state supported you, you would win. And the state was represented by the president. Now, here we have a situation where the state, represented by President Uhuru, was behind one candidate, and somehow whatever was assumed was a done thing was not the done thing, it was the undone thing. So it makes me ask, this system that we have of a presidency, how much power actually does the president have and how much power does their deputy have? Because if it's a presidency, then you get the impression that this power is shared. And sometimes it's shared in favor of whoever is more powerful or whoever is more willing to work at influencing the structure. Because the structure is available to both the president and the deputy.
You've said it.
Oh, I've said it, have I?
You've said it. You've said it. Yeah, I've said in the book, Eric, that, we were talking about... Okay, let me correct one thing. We did not want the state to support our candidate. The only thing that we were hoping and also we were trying to ensure is that the state doesn't work against him, because this is what has happened in the past. Raila Odinga, I say this in different. I don't know whether I said it here, but I said it before the election that our candidate does not require the support of the state. Our candidate has the people of Kenya. And even now, the people of Kenya are with Raila Odinga. Even if the instruments of power are elsewhere, the people of Kenya are with Raila Odinga. So, but just coming back to your point, on the issue of the state, we kept talking about the deep state. But everything has two sides. So if there is deep, there is also shallow. And I've said in the book, there were two types of state. There was a deep state, yes, but there was also a shallow state. Uhuru Kenyatta, with a lot of respect to him, and he's a great man who has done great, good things for this country. He controlled the shallow state. The deep state was in the hands of William Ruto, and he used it to good effect. And I've said how in the book.
Did Uhuru know that?
He did not know that, because if you have the shallow state, the shallow state leads you to think that you have it. You have the deep state.
So the shallow state makes you think that this is the deepest you can be.
Yes. Even, it depends on how you are swimming also.
It's an illusionary state.
And also, if we are talking about a system, we talked about deep state and we talked about a system. If there is a system, and yes, there is a system, there could also be a broken system. And there could also be a functional system. And I've talked in the book that, what we were left with was a broken system. You see, you can have a very good system, a phone. iPhones, a music player. But if it's broken, it won't work, And so that is what we were left with. Uhuru Kenyatta had a broken system that could not do anything.
But not even Raila Odinga knew about it.
You cannot
Raila
know.
has previously said,
Yeah.
system or not, he also has his people in the system. There's nothing that happens in government, Raila has said before, that he doesn't know. He
The
gets to
William
know
Ruto
about it.
side,
So
Eric.
did Raila know that the system that they were looking at with Uhuru was a shallow end, was a baby pool?
I have quoted Sun Tzu, The Art of War, the Chinese general. The Art of War in my book extensively, as the lawyers will say, extenso. And one of the things that Sun Tzu says is that war is all about deception. Political contests are actually like a war. They're a war situation. And war is about deception. So when you're near, you want to appear far. When you're far, you want to appear near. When you're strong, you want to appear weak. If you really want to win, when you're strong, you don't go and say, I am strong. You pretend to be weak. And William Ruto, I don't know, I think he has read that book, maybe and understood it, because he acted weak when he knew he was strong. And he acted like he was, he is a master of deception. And he's a master of reverse psychology. I've described it in the book. And these are men I know very well, fairly well. Let me not say very, but fairly well. And the whole, deception was the name of this game. So when they lead you to believe that you are strong, that you have everything, that you are the one who has the system, you are the one, when they know they're the ones who have it. So there.
Now, clear something for us. You, as the chief agent, you had your eyes and ears on the ground, right? The last time you were here, you told us, well, you were having issues even up to the last minute in terms of deploying your eyes and ears on the ground, your agents at the polling station. Just remind us, what were the challenges with deployment of agents at the polling station?
The deployment of agents is a product of a process. So that process is managed by an institution called the command center. Okay? So you're talking about a minimum of 46,000 agents if you want to have one in every polling station. And because of personnel challenges, you cannot have one, because if one gets sick or whatever it is, so there is a way to, you need at least about 70,000 people to manage the election on election day. So election day monitoring is a very serious affair that requires serious organization. And as the chief agent, I am only one person. So I needed to be equipped with that structure. When we were appointed, we began our work of setting up that structure. But as we were doing that, and my colleagues, if they are to be honest, they will say this. The truth is very difficult sometimes to say, and I understand them. If they're still invested in hoping that something. Maybe they're hoping that something will still be thrown their way. But anyway, the truth sometimes is bitter, but it is the truth. And I like some of the people who have come out, even though they are, they may not like everything I've said, but they've said, let him say what is his truth. So the command center, when we were just setting it up, it was hijacked. Why was it hijacked? It was hijacked for two reasons. It was hijacked because of financial, considerations. There are people who wanted, it's a big financial, cash operation. Yeah. So there are people who wanted to make money out of it, and they wanted to be the ones running the show. But also there are people who had been planted by the other side, and they wanted to. It was a procurement opportunity, and I've described it in the book. So. So they took over the command center. So without a command center, Eric, I can assure you.
When you say they took over,
yeah.
So when you were appointed, you embarked on the journey of creating and establishing a structure.
Yes.
Below you.
Yes.
And then you're saying that people came and took over what, the structure or the command center?
So what happened is this. So we as my, me and my team of we were only 5. The National Chief Agents team, as you remember it. We started, we had our initial meetings. We set out our terms of reference. We set out our organizational structure. We said, this is what we will need to do. But of course, you have to be empowered to do that. So while we were doing that, we were told, no, you guys, we even identified allocation. We identified everything. We identified the personnel, the key personnel that will have done it. Some of them are people who I know without any doubt will have delivered this thing. People who have handled serious logistical issues. And those people were pushed aside. The minute we mentioned them, they're told, no, forget about this one. We have better people. So, ultimately we're told, you guys, we have already set up everything for you. So don't worry.
You just work.
You just, have your meetings, whatever, but we will take you to the place that is up and running. There are people who know about this thing, power, power. I was even told, forget about ODM. Some of these people who are now pretending to be ODM guys, they were telling me some very unsavory things about our party, our beloved party ODM, and saying how ODM will not deliver a presidency or what. And ODM has, ODM has serious structures. If we had even left it to ODM, it would have delivered this thing by 10 a.m. But we went to Jubilee, which was a rotten, broken system. A rotten edifice.
So where was the command center?
The command center is, I've described it in the book. Where Eric Soma Kitabu. But Soma Kitabu ndugu. Lakini, it just, the command center, I have called it the Tower of Babel. It delivered nothing. Absolutely nothing. A whole structure, like the whole of this Standard Group, with computers, all the latest equipments, and I call it a glittering edifice, but which was, intended by the people who are running it to only be an edifice, a facade,
So there was nothing in it.
Wanasema kwa Kiswahili, there's something about something lakini ndani ni, when it is shining outside, but I've forgotten the saying. But anyway, in the end, it delivered nothing. And it was not intended to deliver anything. And Baba was led to believe that this thing was working. I will give you an example. The ICT, former CS, ICT, Joe Musheru, was supposed, he had volunteered and said he's going to deliver for us, it's called what, this system, a system to transmit results, that was foolproof. He demonstrated.
Other than the one that IEBC had.
Every party has a way of
so now you have your own
monitoring
a parallel relaying system.
You're relaying your own. There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a system that is well within the law, but which will give you results faster than even you had given us certain assurances and how your system is foolproof. So you what Google guys, whatever it is, and they made some demonstrations. And when I am trying to probe in the meetings, we are talking about meetings that were well attended, and I'm asking, can we see this system in action? Can we do a demo? Can we do
the same way we're doing at IEBC?
Yes. Can we do a simulation and put it under some pressure? And see
how it works. Yes.
And see how it works. No, Kanchori, this thing we'll do it. We have other ways of doing it. Do you know that so-called system did not even transmit one form? A whole CS.
What do you mean?
Even one form.
Okay, so what did it
So you want to tell me that guy was what was he doing?
Wait. For it to transform a form, to transmit a form, you needed to have something at the polling station.
Yes.
That then is feeding that form into that system for it to appear at your command center, Tower of Babel, or whatever.
The Tower of Babel.
So did you have those gadgets at the polling station?
Yes. We had they were supposed to, or the way it was supposed to work was it was going to work with any smartphone.
Just a smartphone.
Just a smartphone. If you have
capture
the
photo,
app, it is an app actually. We know, and we had many. There are people who had come to us with very excellent apps that could have delivered this thing very well. But some of them were even giving us for free. I will tell you, they were giving. Baba has serious supporters, people who mean well, and these people are saying, this thing. It will work for you guys.
And this bulletproof one we had bought.
This one we paid for.
Okay.
We paid for it, Kwanza heavily. And anyway, it didn't work. And I don't know whether any refunds were taken.
What refund?
So, Kachori, on the ground, because now let's talk about this server story, okay? On the ground, as you were coordinating on the day of the elections, you knew, apart from the two counties where the presidential election was not taking place, in Mombasa and Kakamega, everywhere else across the country, the presidential election was taking place. Were you getting reports from your people on how the turnout is, on how the conduct of the election is going on? Take us through that the daytime from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Were there issues that you could raise then that things are not going right?
Our problems began. The real problems began about a week to the election. On the 2nd of August, we were conducting training. And the way that we are not dealing with small boys, the guys who did this thing, they were well prepared for it, and they knew how to do it. So, and they held the whole, plan until the last minute so that there is no recovery. So it is a fait accompli. On the 2nd of August, when we were training our agents, I started to see, because we were supposed to book venues, we were supposed to pay for venues. I personally talked to coordinators. We had a very organized system. Our coordinators from all the counties had given us venues, had given us budgets, and I gave them these things about 2 weeks to the training. And I told them, these are the venues, these are the budgets. Pay the coordinators. I did not want to handle even a coin in this election. And I didn't, by the way. I didn't even handle one coin. And if anybody thinks I took even the asumuni from them, let them come for it. Nitauza mbuzi ni warudishe. Because I didn't take. And I told them, pay our coordinators the things for the venues, book the venues in advance, give notices to the agents in advance and all this kind of thing. Do you know, up to the date of the training, which was 2nd of August, the venues were not paid for. Right, so we had agents who had been notified because
was there money to pay?
Of course, there was too much money. City money was not an issue.
You're telling us this now. Why didn't you tell us before? Anyway, go on.
Anyway, you see all the wrong people.
So 2 days to the training.
Yes,
and the venue has not been paid.
The day of the training. The day of the training. 2nd of August.
And the trainees have been alerted.
They have even gone. They have even gone to the. These are the agents. They have gone to the agents and the trainers. They have gone to the where they were alerted to go, and the venues are locked because the venues have not been paid for. And I started telling these people, what is it? What is the problem? How do you had these venues 2 weeks prior, why have you not paid? Oh, see you Safaricom. Oh, see you what? Yeah, a lot of stories, you know. And on that evening of 2nd, I walked into the VIP lounge of the command center, and I wanted to hand in my resignation because I saw there's going to be a mess. And I told these people, I call them the big four in the book. I told them, you guys, I hope you have the power to fire me. If you don't have the power to fire me, I'll make it easy for you. I will resign before morning. I'll hand in my resignation to my principal because I will not oversee a broken system. And because the blame will come back to me, Oh, Kanchori, don't worry. These things are never perfect. You you're an absolutist. We know you're a perfectionist, but these things are never perfect. You take it easy. We're in charge. We are, these things. Taken care usually of. Elections are like this.
So you said, okay, let me not resign.
So I'm like, okay, before that they had even wanted to point some blame, whatever. But when they saw that this guy Kumpe, he does not care about this job. For me, it was not a job. It was an assignment that I wanted to deliver. It was not a job. I was not being paid a coin.
It was not for the money.
I closed my law firm for a year to work for Raila Odinga. I mean, my law firm pays me enough. To
survive.
But Raila Odinga did not pay me even a coin, and I worked for him for a whole year, from November to August, November of 2021 to August after the elections, and so for me it was not. For them, maybe they were getting something out of it, and it meant
so
something.
What I'm sensing you going to say here is that by the time you're getting to the election day, your agency system was not.
It was beginning to crumble, and because that was the design. Everything, there is a saying, and this is one of William Ruto's favorite sayings. I've talked about him in the book. He says, ukiona vyaelea ujue vimeundwa. Everything, is pre-planned. Nothing happens.
I have to ask you this question. There is the underlying assumption here is that William Ruto and his people were behind all this. Now, what if the people who were supposed to be your colleagues were the ones who were behind it all along for their own reasons, instead of William Ruto coming to them, because that's the assumption William Ruto said, tupange hii namna hii. What if walipanga namna hii, and then they went to William Ruto and said, this one tumepanga namna hii. Can we have a conversation?
You have said it, City. You have said it. And in fact, that is how I put it in the book.
Oh.
Yes. Kupanga namna hii, it is even in the book. So you've said, have you read it already?
I have not read the book. I have not read anything.
So the truth is the truth.
I just know the book exists.
The truth is the truth. So
kikulacho kilikuwa nguoni. It was not about William Ruto.
Na ilikula ikanona.
Okay. Sava issue. And just I've been corrected by Barack Muluka. Actually, even in Mombasa and Kakamega, the presidential election happened. It's just the gubernatorial election that did not happen.
Yes, of course.
It happened across the country.
Of course, I say that.
On this same day, right? When we say the server is where the issue is, explain to me how the server is the issue when the results are all physical up to Bomas. When you're waiting in Bomas, you're waiting for the returning officers from the 290 constituencies to come.
So, the servers, the people who are saying, oh, the server is CG, the public portal, CG, the server is, that is just taking Kenyans for fools. Taking Kenyans for fools. The public portal was nothing but what had been IBC wanted us to see. It's like coming to your bed, to your house, City, and you give us to stay City. You come to your house, then you let us see what you want us to see. But huko ndani maneno ingine inaendelea.
Kali.
Yeah. So the public portal was a PR exercise for IBC. But let me answer your question, Eric, because you've asked. Hii mambo ya server. What is so hard about opening these servers? If there is nothing there, if there is nothing there, open it and say, you see, this is what the server is. And the opening of the server is a forensic exercise.
Oh.
It's a forensic exercise.
It's not like a door you pull open.
No. It's a forensic audit. All right? It's a forensic audit which has not been done. Even the Supreme Court, and I've said it in the book, in the chapter 6, titled A Mockery of Justice. It was a mockery of justice. The Supreme Court did nothing.
Did the commissioners at Bomas of Kenya rely on the server to announce the result?
The commissioners at Bomas of Kenya, first of all, the commissioners is to overstate the point, because there were only 2 commissioners and 1 chairman.
They were still commissioners. So let's say the commissioners who announced the
results. No, the person who announced the results was one man called Wafula Wanyonyi Chebukati.
Chebukati
That is
announced
one man.
the final result.
Yes.
But throughout the 2 days, the commissioners were announcing, this is what we have received. This is the presidential result from constituency X.
Yes.
So they were announcing the results.
They were announcing the results.
Okay.
Yes.
Were they relying on the server, or were they relying on the returning officer coming to Bomas with the Form 34?
They were relying on the physical form. They were relying on the physical forms, which had been, there were 2 days, which I've called the phony war. If you know your history, in the Second World War, there was a period of 8 months. There was no war, and yet the war had been declared. So even in this election, there was a period of 2 days, which I've called akin to the Second World War period of the phony war, where there was nothing. The elections had concluded.
Shots were fired, nothing.
Like almost like a lull before the storm. And you need to read about the Bomas choirs also.
How do those physical forms impact the server?
The physical forms are subject to doctoring because they are forms. All right? The physical forms are subject to all manner of manipulation. But you see, the people who were in the polling stations, the presiding officers, they sent this information into the server directly. Then the people in the tallying centers, the 290 tallying centers, the constituency returning officers, filled in a physical form.
Yeah.
Which form we had a problem with? One of the issues we had raised was actually that form, because we had said this form is not the standard legal form that is supposed to be generated automatically. The way that IBC had done is that you could generate that form even in your house, as a returning officer. So the results that you'll find in the server are the original in the polling station that was sent, by the presiding officers.
But then, when your team was waiting for these people to arrive at Bomas, one of the things that was happening was the verification. First of all, identify that the human being who has brought the form is the human being who should have arrived. Number 2, the person has arrived with a form that is an authentic form of the IEBC. Did you raise any questions about the forms that were arriving at Bomas? That some of them, this form that has arrived at Bomas is not the form that should be arriving.
Eric, I've explained. And you were asking questions as if we had a perfect system. I've explained that we were flying blind, even at Bomas, because the command center was supposed to give us our own forms.
It didn't.
It didn't.
So you did not know what was coming.
We were completely in the dark at Bomas. So at Bomas, I had been given an exercise that was supposed to be, you're verifying. But I even told everybody else that I told them, you guys, we are not able to verify these things. And so what we were doing, essentially, is just to try and ensure that what Bomas we were receiving, at that point we had to trust IEBC. And up to the day of the election, before the actual announcement, and I've said it in the book, before the 27 constituencies were announced, 27, there are some 27 that were never announced, right?
Yeah.
Some say it is 32, others say it is 29 constituencies, but the general consensus, the one that is undisputed, is 27 constituencies. Up to that point, using IEBC count, Raila Odinga was still ahead of William Ruto. There was no time even at Bomas. Yeah, and I've said, we had to now depend entirely on IEBC's results, which we were now doing a manual tabulation of. Baba was still ahead of William Ruto. The 27 constituencies that were left, that were never announced, 20 out of the 27 were Azimio strongholds. All right? So, and anyway, this thing of opening the server, let me say this, because there are people who want to impugn or impute ill motives on one side about Kanchori, the most honest men you will ever find, north and south, and the most hardworking. By the way, as I was writing this book, I worked harder than Rigathi Gachagua, but I didn't have to send pictures.
Tell us about what you wanted to say.
So I was saying this.
Sleeping late and waking up.
I didn't have to send pictures, but this is what I wanted to say. The people who are saying, Kanchori this, Kanchori that, the reason we're asking for the servers to be open is because we don't have our own results as Azimio. Otherwise, we would have said these are the results. We only have the results from the IBC whistleblower. Why don't we have our results? It's because we didn't have a system. So when I come out and say we didn't have a system, we had a broken, dysfunctional system.
And you're saying the system was broken down deliberately?
Deliberately,
by
it was
your own
sabotaged.
people.
By our own people. By our own people, yes. Okay, not our people actually. These are Jubilee people who we trusted.
My brother.
Azimio.
You were in Azimio?
Yeah, okay, fine.
They're your people.
Yeah, they used to be our people. But anyway, even, like you said, Kikulacho.
So the reason why Azimio is really pushing for the opening of the server is basically just to see the result.
Well, you see the whistleblower.
Because they have no clue what the result is.
And yet they say
that they won the election.
See, you see, do you know Eric? Latif.
Yes.
Unajua ni Masai naweza ongelesha Kimasai. You know, na ukinisukuma sana ndaongea Kimasai. Lakini this is the point, eh? The whistleblower's report. Who has come out to challenge it? Who? Have you seen one man? Chebukati ametoka. Anybody, even the beneficiaries of Chebukati's results, have they said this one is not the correct? They have not. They have not challenged those results, and the results are in the public domain.
Maybe they
so we are saying
to challenge it.
So we are saying, let them open the server, kwa sababu hiyo ndio msema kweli.
Na ikisema kweli na ikisema kwamba mlishindwa?
Ikisema tulishindwa, I don't know what plans Baba has for that.
Next I will Jose Kamago aliingia kwa sababu.
I will not prescribe anything for him because he's actually is ultimately is the one to decide.
Okay.
But the truth is
shall set us free.
Shall set us free. And we need to, to be truthful in everything we do.
Thank you, Kanchori. Saitaba Ole Kanchori is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He was the chief agent for the presidential candidate in the Azimio presidential candidate in last year's election. And he has now authored a book, Why Baba is Not the Fifth, giving us the inside scoop of what he saw happening. Thank you very much. We did not have the news because, Aseto had some issues earlier. It's 9:06.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally.
Yeah.
It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, so Thika Road and Kembu Road have cleared. It's now looking good. The road that has an issue now is just Uhuru Highway coming from Museum Hill into University Roundabout and Kenyatta Avenue Roundabout. That's the only issue. And then Mombasa Road coming towards Haile Selassie. Not Haile Selassie, actually, coming towards Nyayo Stadium Roundabout. So this whole area from South Sea, from the church, heading towards Nyayo Stadium Roundabout, it's busy, but it is moving. Uhuru Highway again getting into town. Jogoo Road at City Stadium roundabout, and then Landis Road at Wakulima Market getting into Haile Selassie roundabout is also busy. That's where the issues are. Lunga Road as you get into Outer Ring Road and Jogoo Road, that's where also there's an issue. And then Kangundo Road in Umoja. Coming into Umoja 1 there, Umoja Phase 1 into the area where there's a fire station. There's an issue there on Kangundo Road, but it is also moving. There's something there because both sides of the road are really backed up. Kiambu Road is stretching back to Utalii, actually. No, Kiambu Road is clear, but Murang'a Road, not Murang'a Road, this other one, Thika Superhighway is stretching all the way to Utalii. Murang'a Road and Wangari Maathai and Limuru Road are good.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
11
this
minutes to
is
9.
the Situation Room, the only way to start.
Room this week. It's the 14th day of April 2023. After the conversation with Sataba Olekenchori, let's get into a health conversation. And this hour, we are joined by Dr. Kireki Omanwa. Dr. Omanwa is the president of the Kenya Obstetrics and Gynecological Society of... we already said Kenya Obstetrics and Gynecological Society. And he's here because we want to talk about high mortality rates, high maternal mortality rates in Kenya. Very many women are dying at the point of childbirth. Why is this happening? Daktari, good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation again.
Asante sana.
Good to have you back.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
It's always good to come back.
Very good.
To the hot seat, as you call it.
Yes. It's a hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yes.
And it's good to have an obstetrician again.
Yes.
Yes.
Obstetricians. Yes. Siti,
Yes.
give Daktari the day's proverb.
This is our final proverb from the country of Mali. Okay. Success sometimes is disguised as a disaster. Put on hold.
Success sometimes is designed as a disaster. Put on hold.
Yes.
That sounds quite philosophical.
Yes. Sounds proverbial.
It does.
Mm-hmm. What's your interpretation of it?
But as you have presented it, and in connection with the topic that you want us to talk about, I think in the same vein, I would say success in terms of a woman getting pregnant, and then unfortunately that success ends in a disaster. And unfortunately that does happen day in and day out, not only in this country, but in most countries, especially sub-Saharan Africa. But I'll start by giving just a short experience which I had 3 weeks ago. I had finished a procedure in one of the theaters in one of the hospitals. And then as I was going out to go and change, my colleague, an anesthetist, comes and calls me and say, please come. One of your colleagues needs assistance, another obstetrician and gynecologist. She has a horrible PPH. PPH is basically postpartum hemorrhage. So I walked into the theater. I saw my colleague is struggling. So a quick, review tells me this is a 30-year-old patient, her first pregnancy. She has delivered a baby girl and everything was fine. And then after delivery, she just could not stop bleeding. So she had struggled, she had put this, she had done this and whatever. And we have been trained at a certain level, you know what to do, even without thinking. So automatically I asked my colleague, the anesthetist, have you given this, have you given that, have you given... He said, we have given all the medications, which was okay. So let us go back and analyze and try and see what the problem is. So we check with my colleague again. He said, I have checked, but it's good for you to have a second look. So we look at the cervix. The cervix is the opening of the womb, because there can be tears. If there's a tear there which is not taken care of, the woman can continue bleeding. So we check the cervix is intact. We massage the uterus, because usually after delivery the uterus contracts normally. And then taking into consideration that she had gotten so many medications, it was contracted. But where was she bleeding from? Because she was actually bleeding like a tap. We'd put in what we call an abdominal gauze to stop the bleeding, and then after a few seconds it would be completely soaked. Wow. So I put in my hand, checked, I could feel a fibroid, a structure fibroid in the uterus. So my thinking was that possibly this is where she was bleeding from, and possibly the placenta was actually lying on that fibroid. Now that it had come out, it had exposed vessels and they were bleeding, and there was no way the uterus was going to contract on that vessel. So after the medications, but she's still bleeding. Wow. And guess what saved the day? A condom. It may sound frivolous, but it was a condom. So he said, do we have a condom somewhere? He said, we don't have a condom in theatre because you don't expect to have condoms in theatre. But luckily, one of the nurses went around, rummaged around and found a condom. And she came with a caveat and said it was not in my handbag. But
which means even in such times it's important.
It was in her handbag.
So what we did, we took a pipe which we call a catheter, and this is a pipe which we insert into the bladder, especially when we are doing surgery. We took that pipe and tied the condom to it and inserted it into the womb, and then pumped in about 300 milliliters of fluid, and it stuck there. And
so you basically blew up the...
Yes, we created with fluid. We created what you called a tamponade, and then we packed. In the vagina, we put in another 2 gauzes, abdominal gauzes, big ones, so that we would stop it, and we put it there. And guess what? It stopped. She went to ICU, and then after ICU in the evening, that was on a Friday, she was taken back to the ward. On Monday, she was discharged.
The bleeding had completely stopped.
It had stopped. Now, I asked my colleague later on, what was her HB? Her HB is basically to see the capacity of the blood to transport oxygen. She told me that after delivery, they checked just before delivery, it was 11 grams per deciliter, which is normal. But by the time she went to ICU, it had gone to 3. So she had lost 8 grams per deciliter. Now, just to give you an idea, in order for us to replenish such a loss, 1 unit of blood, full blood, is about 330 milliliters, will replenish about 1 gram per deciliter.
What?
So she had lost about 2.5 liters of blood.
What? Before delivery?
That is after delivery. After delivery.
That's 5 pints.
So the bleeding,
yes,
the net result of the bleeding was
2.5 liters.
Okay.
2.5 liters. Now, what saved the day? The condom, as I said, the medications which she had received. She had got blood which was available, and there was expertise on the ground. 2 heads are better than one.
Yeah.
We have done this. Now can we do this?
And it's all just trying something. try this, try the other. Of course, informed trial.
Yeah, we know what exactly is supposed to happen. Of course, if she had not stopped bleeding after we put the tamponade, we would have taken her to theatre and we would have removed the womb as a last resort. So because it was the first time, because the thing you ask, how many times has she delivered? Once. She's a young girl, she's 30. So she may need to, who knows, she may have other plans of having her. Yeah. So what do? Let us try and conserve the uterus as much as possible. Does it always end up that way? No. Unfortunately. Here we were lucky, she was lucky, she was in a hospital where there were medications, there was blood, there was personnel.
Yeah.
Most of the women who die in our countries, unfortunately, they end up in hospitals where there are no medications, there is no blood, and sometimes the personnel, qualified personnel, is also not available. Let's look at the numbers, just to give you a rough idea.
Yeah.
Mandera County, maternal mortality rate is about 3,800 in every 100,000 women who deliver. In Wajir, it's about 1,700. In Turkana, it's about 1,200, about 1,630. And so on. Migori has about 603. Kisumu about 506. When we do an average, we get that in Kenya, the maternal mortality rate is about 362 in every 100,000 women that deliver. Actually, when we quote some of these
100,000 live births.
In every 100,000 live births, 362 women will die, unfortunately. So that is equating to one woman dying every day.
What's a global average?
Yeah. The global average now depends on what we are talking about. Because if you look at the so-called developed countries, their MMR rates are about 10, 12. When you go to Scandinavian countries, it's about 4. You go to the UK, it's about 3, 4, 5, in every 100,000 women. Yesterday, I was reading an article that in the US, actually what is happening is that their MMR rates have started creeping up from around 20. They have reached around 30, and it is principally because they are closing obstetric hospital units in some of the states, in remote parts of some states like Idaho, and other states. Why? Because they don't have personnel, qualified personnel who are able to manage these pregnant women right from the beginning and all the way until delivery and take care of possible complications that can happen during childbirth.
Did you get to find out what was causing this complication with this particular
in this particular patient? Yes. No, because because there is a certain way we look at things when we are in such a situation. We start by analyzing to see whether there is any tissues which have been torn, and there were no tissues which have been torn. You look at the vagina, look at the uterus, look at the cervix, and then you go into the uterus, whether the uterus is contracted. Most of the time, the uterus may not be contracted because of different reasons. You may find that the lady has delivered a big baby, for example. Maybe she has delivered twins. Maybe she is coming back to deliver maybe for the 5th time, for the 6th time. There may be some fibroids and so on. My take was that it was because of the fibroid which I felt. And by the way, 40 to 60% of women of African origin will have fibroids in their reproductive period.
What are fibroids?
Fibroids is a growth. It's a growth, a benign growth most of the time. It's non-cancerous, and this is a growth in what you call the smooth muscle of the womb. The womb is formed of muscle, and as a woman develops and reaches that stage where she can start having babies, the ovaries start working and producing a hormone called estrogen. And there is a postulation that the estrogen will act on those smooth muscles, leading to the growth of those fibroids, yeah.
So there are growths that actually shouldn't be there.
They shouldn't be. Ideally, they shouldn't be there. But
so now, when you find them, what do you do?
When we find them, it will depend, because patients who come with these fibroids will First of all, what is the reason? Most of the time, the patients come to us because of fibroids, is because if they are big and they have symptoms which accompany them. And the symptoms can be, for example, feeling heaviness in the lower abdomen. They may feel pressure symptoms, especially when they go to short call. When they have their short call, they feel as if they haven't completed the short call. They go back, and then after a few minutes they still go back, and whatever comes out is not commensurate to the pressure that they are feeling. Sometimes there can also be pressure during the long call, so they have the same feeling. I feel like going for a long call, but when she goes for a long call, it's as if nothing much is coming out, but the pressure is still there. And heavy bleeding. And some of these women can actually bleed terribly. You may find a woman, during her periods, she uses packs. For us gynecologists, we know actually all the sizes of these packs that they use. So we ask them, how heavy are your periods? You say, I use maybe 4 or 5, packs of maxi packs. That is a lot of bleeding.
That's a lot.
A lot of bleeding. And some of them actually say, but Daktari, I use this and I use another towel sometimes on top, but still there is leakage, and there could be clots as well. So when a woman comes and we ask some of these questions, and these are some of the symptoms that we get, we generally have an idea about what we're dealing with. And then when we do an abdominal examination, we'll actually find that the uterus is quite enlarged. And when you do a scan, we will see that there is a problem.
Back to these numbers.
Yes.
You've given us, for example, Scandinavian countries, the UK, 3 to 4 deaths out of 100,000 live births.
That's right.
In the US, you said now it's an issue because they're getting to 30.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, that's a big issue. In Kenya, our average is 362.
Yes.
That also does not create a picture because Mandera, 3,800 women are dying every year out of 100,000 live births.
Out of 100,000.
Out of 100,000 live births
yes.
are dying. This is a very huge number. Why would this number be so high? The second highest, Wajir, 1,700, is about half.
I will quote somebody. I can't remember exactly his name, but he's a gentleman from Egypt, who's also an obstetrician, and who said women are dying not because we don't know why they are dying, the reasons why they are dying. Women are dying because we know the reasons for high maternal mortality rates. They are the so-called the big 5, where we have PPH, which is postpartum hemorrhage, that is bleeding after delivery. We have what we call preeclampsia, that is the blood pressure, increasing, especially after the second trimester or during the second trimester. We have sepsis. We have obstructed labor, and then we have post-abortion complications. So we know the reasons.
These are the 5 main reasons.
Those are the 5 big ones, which are obstetrical. There can also be other non-obstetric, for example, if you have HIV, malaria, especially now that the rainy season is here, and so on. Those can also contribute to maternal mortality rates. So what this gentleman said is that women are dying not because we don't know the reasons for their dying. Women are dying because we have not made a conscious decision that their lives are worth saving. We have not made that decision, that their lives are worth saving. So when you look at those numbers, Mandera, Wajir, Turkana, even if there were 506, or even we take the average of 362, it is a huge, huge number. We have not made a conscious decision that their lives are worth saving.
Really?
Yes, we have not. Why? Because look at it this way. Imagine that was the example that I gave was in a private hospital, well equipped. We have all these medications, all of them. Whichever medication
and an available ICU.
There was an ICU which is available. There is a there were 3 consultants, 2 consultant obstetricians and gynecologists, and 1 very experienced anesthesiologist. So whatever you would ask, you say, this has been done, this has been given. So what do we do next? Let us do this. There is a cascade sort of way of doing. And we managed to help because of a simple condom. Now, you will find in in public hospitals, because that is where majority of our women deliver, you find there is no condom. You find there is no that pipe. It's a pipe called a Foley's catheter. It is not available. We talk about medications, what we call oxytocics, meaning they're the ones which help in contracting the uterus. They are not available. Or you find that some of those medications are there, but the quality is poor. So you give a patient, you expect a reaction, it is not happening. It is not happening. So what did I? 3 weeks ago, I was in a meeting with the Ministry of Health and some stakeholders from some counties. I think it was about 10 counties. And basically, we're talking about the same problem. How do we source for these medications? How do we source for these commodities such that they are available in every hospital, every level hospital where a woman actually is delivering? We find that the people who make the decisions usually are not in the front line. They don't use these medications. They don't see these patients who are undergoing this. So it is us to tell them, you know what, we need this and this and this and this available. But for them, it's like we didn't know that actually this is what is happening. So somebody sits in an office and says, we will take this medication only. This is what we are going to order. But then the question is, what if when you use that medication, it does not work? We need to have alternatives. The other issue is blood. Blood is a big, big problem. In this country, on average, we need about 500,000, units of blood, such that we are comfortable and that we are able to take care of everybody who needs blood, whether it's pre-surgery or post-surgery, whether it's patients who are having cancer or patients who we are talking about today. But unfortunately, we get about maybe about 150,000 units, or even if we say 200,000 units, there is still a huge shortfall. And the blood is actually one of the biggest components, especially when a patient like our patient, the one I mentioned, lost 2.5 liters of blood. What happens is that the body now stops, what you call coagulation stops working, because what we call factors which lead to coagulation are not there, creating another problem altogether.
Every time one talks about maternal health care, it seems to be the discussion revolves around the problems around it with regard to the majority of the population in the country.
Yes.
Meaning, the very fundamentals of that care are not available to the people who actually probably need it most. Now,
unfortunately.
Yes. So now, we are saying, let me ask a question. Are we saying that we don't have adequate personnel in the country? Not in the regions where they're needed, but within the country? Yes. And I'm talking about the entire cascade of healthcare providers that you need to provide the optimum care for the person who needs it? Or are we saying that irrespective of the training needs that our institutions seek to meet, somehow the planning and implementation of healthcare provision doesn't quite gel with the available personnel who are actually there within the country?
I think it is both.
Yes.
I'll start with the first one. Still going back to example that I gave, there were medications, there was blood, there was personnel. Let's go back to these counties that we are talking about. You'll find that medications may not be available. Personnel is a very big issue. And number three, there are other additional factors which come in. What are these? Look at it this way. Mandera possibly has maybe one or possibly two consultant obstetricians, or maybe none. There's a time Wajir had only one consultant obstetrician in the whole county. There was a time Turkana had 4 consultant obstetricians in the whole county. And then the interesting thing is that, all these are my colleagues. I know them. One of them went for further training to become an oncologist, gynecology oncologist. One of them was given a job in the county government, but nothing to do with health. One of them resigned and went to do some other work and training, and they were left with one out of 4. So issues of manpower. So now you wonder, even if there are 5 or even 10, in a county like Turkana or in a county like Garissa, for example, which is quite vast, if a complication does happen, where will this consultant be found? Will he be at the northernmost part of the county, or at the southernmost, or in the middle, or wherever he'll be? So there is a challenge with manpower. Talked about training. We have a reasonable number of consultant obstetricians, because by and large now we are about almost 500, which is not a bad number. About 500. About 500 in the country. In the whole country, we have about 500.
We have about 1 million live births in Kenya every year.
Thank you. Now, out of those 500, there are those, of course, there's the natural attrition, which is happening every year. And there are those ones who will say, no, I don't want to do this. Let me go and subspecialize and do something else. So we are left with a certain number. Now, obviously, after going to school and training for so many years, you need a certain level of lifestyle. Let's call it that way.
Yeah.
You will find that in some counties, you may not be given that chance, or if you are given that chance, you are given, okay, come, we will employ you as a consultant, obstetrician and gynecologist, but you'll be so frustrated because you will not have the tools that you need in order for you to be able to work. There are no medications, theatre is not working, you may not get this, and so on and so forth. So there is that issue of distribution of manpower. Now, out of these about 500, the big cities, Nairobi has the most of the consultants, followed by Mombasa, Kisumu and Eldoret, and now these other ones we have, a few here and there. What do we need to do in terms of asking about the manpower?
The solution. Hold on. Hold that thought. We'll go to the solution after this. Let's take a break. It's 24 minutes to 10. Dr. Kireki Omanwa is the president of the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society, and he's here because we are discussing the high maternal mortality rates in this country. When you say that 362 women out of every 100,000 live births are dying, this is a very high number. And it's very high because it's over 300%, not very, very many percentages higher than global average. And this is just the average. Dr. has told us in some counties, it's actually thousands of women dying. This is a very high number. What is it that we need to do? Let's discuss that after this break. Kenya's biggest conversation. I'll also tell you what's the roads are looking like, and we'll hear the news, the business news from Dennis.
Blood is not always thicker than water.
Start your life here.
It's not enough for me. It's just not enough.
You don't know what they do to girls like you.
I think it's having an affair.
Two families are at war and family ties get broken.
Is it improving on Thika Road? No, it's not. Well, yes, it is. If you actually compare or consider that the traffic was at KCA University earlier, now it's only at Utali College and opposite NYS. Okay, it's improving. Kiambu Road is also improving because now it's only up to Umboi Road coming towards Kiambu Road Junction. And then you get into Pangani. After Pangani, it clears and it moves. Limuru Road now is very busy, especially at the avenues. So whether you're talking about 2nd, 3rd and 4th Parklands avenues, Limuru Road gets busy there. Uhuru Highway getting into town is busy. Haile Selassie Avenue getting into town, into Moi Avenue, that's some big issue there, especially at railways, around railways. And then the other roads are not looking anything major to report. Okay, no, there's an issue actually on Ngong Road and Naivasha Road. So getting into Ngong Road, getting into Naivasha Road, that's a very, very big issue. And then getting into City Stadium, no, not City Mortuary, and joining into Valley Road and Arguins Kothak Road, heading into town. It's busy, but they are moving.
Business News with Spice FM.
Dennis Oseto. Jumia Kenya has announced the appointment of Charles Ballard as its new CEO, taking over from Jean Seko, who recently left to join a Pan-African fintech player. Charles, who has been with the company since 2019, previously held the positions of Head of Performance and Planning, Chief Operating Officer and Senior Vice President Commercials. In his new role, Charles aims to drive e-commerce growth in rural Kenya, where more than 70% of the population lives. Econews Africa and the Kenya Small Scale Farmers Forum have voiced their strong opposition to the ongoing trade negotiations between Kenya and the United States for a strategic trade and investments partnership, whose next round of talks is set to happen in Nairobi from Monday, April 17th. While terming the negotiations dangerous, Econews Executive Director Edgar Odari urged the government to suspend the talks until a stakeholders consultation is done to determine what should go into the final agreement. And Kenya Revenue Authority embarked on a journey to strengthen its operations by seeking to fill substantively the vacancy at the Commissioner General's office, which is currently held in acting capacity by Rispa Simiyu. The taxman advertised the critical job in the local dailies, whose holder serves for a 5-year term, signaling the possible end of Simiyu's tenure since her appointment in October last year to tame a looming leadership crisis. Nima Hospital is looking for a nursing officer with a diploma in nursing from KMTC or another recognized nurse training institute with over 2 years of experience. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 14th of April 2023. Visit jobs.digga.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Digga Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business.
The conversation continues at 17 minutes to the top of the hour. We are still here with Dr. Kireki Omanwa, the president of the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society, giving us those grim figures of the number of women who die while giving birth. And this is uncalled for. In fact, Dr. you've quoted another person from Egypt who said that our women are dying not because we don't know what's killing them, not because we don't know that they're dying, but because we have not made a conscious decision that they are worth saving.
Their lives are worth saving. Yes.
That is so damning.
Yeah.
So what do we do, City?
You know, is that not the eternal question? What do we do? But I would ask a question which isn't eternal, but in my mind gets to the heart of the matter. Why don't we do what we really know we ought to do? Because we actually can. It's not that we can't do what needs to be done. We can. You see, perhaps the discussion about the preventative aspect of healthcare and how it is we can actually plug into it in every which way we can would be the way to start. Because it's something that involves educating, training people at whatever fundamental level within our society so that they understand certain things.
Absolutely.
And so that these large numbers actually are reduced. Now, The specialized care that is necessary, we all know that it comes with horrendous costs, okay? But the primary health care, remember all these discussions about universal health care and what it can do and what have you. If you have a system like that that actually works, and you actually have hospitals that have commodities and have personnel, then everything becomes a lot simpler.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And those numbers will drop.
They will drop.
They will drop.
So it
will drop. Yeah.
And sometimes I would dare argue that without necessarily a very huge increase in the budgetary allocation that the ministry has, because there's what the government gives the ministry, and there's what the partners give. And they are colossal amounts. If I look at, say, the amount of money that, say, for instance, PEPFAR has given Kenya for HIV, which covered maternal health care as well, over time, it's 860 billion Kenya shillings. Now, surely, that is enough money.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, it could have overhauled the healthcare system in the country. It's
Absolutely.
a great deal of money.
So where did the money go?
Isn't that now the eternal question? Where does our money go? Because every time someone tells you this money isn't enough, and you ask a simple question, can you tell us what you've done with the one you got?
Thank you.
So that we can see where the gaps are. That story now becomes grey, vague, and you ask unnecessary questions. Surely, you know the money was you. So,
give us more.
Yes, exactly. And then when you're given more, it's the same story. I am saying this. There are healthcare professionals. They are health economists. There are people within the health fraternity, health sector, who, believe me, know exactly what needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Now, the question is, how do you get enough pull to make sure that those who, not even just the purse strings, the power strings, those who have them, listen and actually get these things done? Because having people who know what to do, we have an abundance of those.
But you see, I still go back to that quotation, that we have not made a conscious decision that their lives are worth saving. Why do I quote that again? Because the lady who's delivering in level 3 hospital, in a level 4 hospital, who is quote unquote nobody because she's not affiliated, she's not known to anybody. Of course, you know, when it comes to are the medications there, whether they are there or not, it's really neither here nor there. But when it touches somebody who is in a position of making serious decisions and say, look, Allah, it even happened to my family, so we have to make a decision. Now, why do I think and why do I insist that we have not made a conscious decision? It is because if, for example, there was a conscious decision that everybody in this country, including our civil servants, including our ministers, MCAs, etc., have to use the public health system, it would be overhauled in one day. The money would flow to the public health system. We would get all these commodities. We would get all the workers, the human resource that is needed. And believe you me, these numbers would drop, you know, like at a drop of a hat. So we have issues with that. We don't have this, or the money that comes in. You know, Kenya as a country, we sign up to so many, you know, conventions. You know, we have the Sustainable Development Goals, you know, number 3, whereby we actually, the government signed that by the year 2030, we should have reduced our maternal mortality rates to 70 in 100,000. Obviously, that is not going to be possible. We are only 7 years away, and looking at the numbers, they don't look good. We have this. The government signed on to the Abuja Declaration that we should have an incremental allocation to the health budget until it gets to about 15% of the total budget. It is not happening. It has not happened. I don't see it happening soon. So this is why I keep on saying that we have not made a conscious decision that the lives of these mothers and other Kenyans are worth saving. And then it's also paradoxical because we enshrine this in the Constitution that everybody has a right to quality health care and as well as reproductive health care, and then we do something completely opposite.
Is it possible that these numbers are invisible?
They are invisible, unfortunately.
Like we don't see them because, you know, as you talk about, I'm still thinking, just Mandera County, what's the population of Mandera County? 3,800. How many live births do we get in Mandera County? I mean, if this is a very high number, if you just look at it. But you don't hear it. You don't hear it from even the people in Mandera. I mean, because it will be an issue. Even communities, if it was visible, you'd be feeling the pressure from communities coming out and saying, no. The number of women who've actually died in this hospital, is it an issue about the hospital? You know, it will be starting from community not understanding, but now just accusing the doctors or the hospital or the facilities and saying, this hospital is killing very many of our women and they're coming to give birth. We don't hear this.
It is because there are other factors as well.
Right.
There is the faith factor that comes in and says it has happened. Ni shauri ya Mungu, hatuwezi kufanya chochote. So that also does have an effect. But again, going back to what we are talking about funding, about personnel, about availability of commodities. And then there are other factors as well. Because, for example, we have what is called the 3-delay model, whereby the first delay is where the patient makes a decision at home. I need to go to hospital. And for example, if she's bleeding or she has whatever it is, that decision may take time. And then there's the second delay. The second delay is from home to the hospital. How does she get to hospital? Are there roads? Is it safe for her to travel in the night? etc. And then the third delay now is in the hospital. She has arrived at the hospital. Is there personnel? Are they well trained to do the right thing in such a situation? Now, let me start with the third delay. We are in hospital, and we have this. Kenya, I think we know about this. We have several thousand doctors who are unemployed. Several thousand doctors in a developing country.
Trained and unemployed.
Trained by our money because we pay taxes. And the training takes many years. They have decided that we are going to be doctors for whatever reason it is. But they are there and we are producing more. And we are not employing them. Are we serious with life? I don't think we are. Not only doctors, they're also nurses as well. And we are happy to say that, now because our health personnel are very well trained, they can go and work in the UK and they will send money to Kenya. Are we serious with life?
We can export our health.
We can export our health. Yet, it's like saying my house is burning, but let me go to the UK and then I'll send somebody to come and help, sort out this.
The fire.
Really? The numbers are invisible. Why are they invisible? They are invisible because health is not visible. A healthy population, you actually don't see it. It is not the roads that we see. It is not the buildings that we see. It is not the schools that we see. It is not the piped water that we etc.
It's not tangible.
All of these which are basic needs. But the most important of them is health. Imagine if we kept our young girls in school. Research has shown, there was a paper I was reading the other day from Peru, that for every 1 year that our girls stay in school, we actually reduce the maternal mortality rate by 29.3 in every 100,000.
Wow.
For every year we keep them in school. But we have over 200,000 adolescent pregnancies, which we are not talking about, or it doesn't bother because it is not me. Ni mtu mwingine tu huko. It is not me. We are not talking about the harmful practices, of FGM, because one of the big fives is actually what? Is actually obstructed labor. And again, you remember we talked about Mandera, we talked about Wajir, we talked about this. This is where FGM is actually very, very prevalent. And they do the worst sort of FGM, what we call infibulation, where they cut everything, the clitoris, the labia majora, labia minora, and they leave just a tiny opening.
And they sew it up even.
And they sew it up. We had during our Congress in February, we had a lady who came up. I think she was from Isiolo or Marsabit, and she gave her experience. It was a horrible, harrowing experience. She had undergone FGM when she was 6 years. And then when she was 12, the parents decided, no, that was not enough. They went back and they removed everything. And guess what? It was not in hospital. What they used to suture the tissues together was actually thorns. So they put the thorns there, and she was in bed for 1 whole month. She could not do anything. when she was talking about it, I could actually feel the pain. Even now, when I remember about that, actually, it is something which is horrible. But this is happening in this country. And because of that, she ended up having 5 cesarean sections. And one of the issues that cesarean section is a major surgery. And she could have easily lost her life in any one of these cesarean sections. So these are some of the things that we need to talk about. Community knowledge, some of these harmful traditional or cultural practices are also, also add up, to some of these problems that we are having of maternal mortality rates.
Post-abortion complication is also one of the big 5.
Yes, it is.
That means abortion.
That means abortion.
Most of the time it will be backroom abortion.
Absolutely. We had a case of a New Year. I was on call and my registrar called me and said, we have this patient and we opened the abdomen and we can't seem to find our way around it. So I came and we looked, and actually it was quite complicated.
Just pause. When you say you couldn't find your way around it.
Yeah.
Okay, explain the complication.
Okay. We opened the abdomen. Ideally, you're supposed to, because she came bleeding, and she had a fever of 40 degrees Celsius. So something must have happened. Of course, she gave the history, but she didn't tell us the whole story. But as we go in, as I call us forensic, doctors sometimes in such cases, the complications that we have, first of all, we could not open the abdomen properly because the guts were all matted, seriously matted. I thought that possibly there could have been a perforation. So as we are opening slowly, I asked for my colleague, a surgeon, to come also to help us just in case. But at the end of the day, we managed to actually open, and dissect the gut slowly. And what happened is that we found out that there was a perforation at the posterior wall of the uterus, the back wall of the uterus. Now, again, because the way our bodies have been created, the body sort of limited the extent of the infection because of a serious infection, and she had about 1 liter of pus in the abdomen.
What?
1 liter of pus. That is why the fevers were going to 40.
What?
So we drained the pus. The whole theater was stinking like, whatever it is.
Yeah,
anyway.
Like no one's business.
Yeah, no one's business. We cleaned her up, but then unfortunately we had to remove one of her tubes because it was completely destroyed. The other one was completely blocked. We managed to clean her up and everything was okay. 19-year-old girl.
What had brought this about?
And that is what because she was, I found her in theatre, so the following day I found her in the ward. So I asked her, so what happened? And she said, I just started bleeding. I said, really? When was your last period? She said, there was a period of about 8 to 9 weeks without a period, which basically means that you're either pregnant or something is happening. And obviously she had a backroom abortion, and whoever had done it had perforated the uterus, and thank God it had not gone into the bowels because we could have lost her. 19-year-old. Now, 19-year-old, we have removed the tube. The other one is blocked as well. So by the time when she wants to get a baby, unfortunately there'll be serious complications because she won't be able to have a baby naturally. So there we go. These are post-abortion. And by the way, abortion or illegal abortion are not procured only by young girls. They are also procured by ladies who are married, ladies who have children, and so on. So that is also another problem as well.
Hey, a lot needs to happen. There is a lot of awareness that we need, and thank you very much, Dr. for coming, because this is a conversation that ought to happen all the time.
Absolutely.
Like I said, it's invisible because we also don't talk about it or we hide it, all this kind of, but I am sure nobody knew the extent of the danger that this girl had gone into.
Of course nobody
when she went back home, it's like, alikuwa tu hospitali kidogo.
Alitokwa na damu kidogo akapelekwa theater, lakini sasa yuko
sawa. Tunashukuru Mungu.
Nana meza dawa.
Tunashukuru Mungu. And that story ends there.
Yes.
And Daktari, thank you for joining us.
Asante sana.
Always a pleasure. Dr. Kireki Omanwa is the president of the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society, and he's been here. We've been talking about maternal mortality rates. We need to keep these ones addressed. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation the whole of this week. We'll be back on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully on Monday, Ndu will be back. How much is coming back, the other one?
No, it was 1 week. She should be back this coming Monday. But then if she's not, we will know.
It's okay. We will find out. Enjoy your weekend, people. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. 4 people are found dead and 11 others are hospitalized in Kilifi after being rescued from a forest where they were starving to death in what appears to be a religious cult. Police say the group of people were found in